Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Okay, good evening, Exeter. Welcome to the March 31st, 2025 Town of Exeter Select Board meeting. As the hour is 6 p.m., I will call the meeting to order. And for the first hour, hopefully we'll be going down in a non-public session for the first 30 minutes or so, and then we have 3 board interviews. Once we exit non-public, which will take us to 7 o'clock, at which point we'll return to the Novak room to conduct our regular business meeting. So I would entertain a motion at this time to enter into non-public under RSA 91A 32L.
So moved. Second.
It's a motion, a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please.
Selectman Chartran.
Aye.
Selectwoman Cowan.
Aye.
Chair Papaconstant. I'm still not saying your name
That's
right.
okay. Aye.
Okay. Selectwoman Gilman.
Aye.
I say aye.
Okay. Vote is 5-0. The board will be going into non-public.
For this
March.
week's report, Parks and Rec creates community through an indoor walking group. The fire department rescues another animal in Exeter. The Stuff the Bus food drive is around the corner. The Select Board discusses potential changes to employee health care. The Exeter Lit Fest is back in the Town Hall. An update from the Public Library. And 2 indoor track and field records are broken at Exeter High School. For Exeter TV, I'm Bob Glowacki, and this is the Exeter Biweekly Report. Let's get started. Good afternoon, Exeter. Thanks for tuning into the show today. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and like this video to help spread the word about the show and all things Exeter. For our first segment, we joined Parks and Rec at their indoor walking group to find out how getting active is helping to build community in Exeter.
In a partnership with Phillips Exeter Academy, the Parks and Recreation Department is holding an indoor group walk and talk at the PEA Fieldhouse.
This is one of my favorite programs that we offer for our seniors. It's a really great way for people to get connected and stay active. All 4 seasons of the year, whether it's scalding hot out, super humid, and you want to come escape the heat, or it's icy and snowy and raining outside, this is a beautiful facility that we're privileged to have access to thanks to a wonderful partnership with Phillips Exeter Academy.
This winter was particularly brutal, but this program served as a safe haven from the cold and icy conditions.
There's lots of days when we just don't leave the house in the winter. You know, it's just too slippery out or too cold. But we know coming here, you don't have to worry about walking and falling and all of that.
The group walk and talk was made possible because PEA opened its doors to Exeter seniors. As Jason Baston, the Director of Physical Education and Athletics at Phillips Exeter puts it,
anytime we can have an opportunity to allow folks to come in, especially to do exercise. I mean, obviously in our space, we're lifelong believers in physicality and exercise and health and wellness. And so if we can open this up, you know, to the senior community to come in, we want to do that as often as possible.
not only does this program give seniors the opportunity to get some exercise in, but it gives them the chance to meet other Exeter residents.
Again, we've been walking here for, I think, 3 years, and we've probably made an additional 10 or 12 people that we're close to, and acquaintances, probably another 30. So, yeah, it's nice because you see them around town as well as just here.
It's a free program. Come and try it. You never have to come again if you don't like it, but it's worth trying. It's such a nice facility. We're so lucky to have access to it. It's a great way to meet new people, or even if you just want to listen to some music, listen to an audiobook, and take a few laps, you can totally do that.
If you're interested in this program and want to learn more about it, follow the link below. The group meets every Tuesday from 9:30 to 10:30 at the PEA Fieldhouse.
The fire department responded to another call of an animal in need last week. Gabe Perez has the story.
Last week, onlookers at the Hannaford parking lot watched as a seagull had gotten itself stuck on a street lamp, using what appeared to be a fishing rod line that the seagull must have accidentally attached to sometime previously. Luckily, Exeter Fire Department Sea Shift arrived on the scene, ascending the ladder to assist the bird. The same shift that had rescued a dog from the Squamscott River a week prior. After a struggle, they managed to catch the scared and defensive bird, holding it steady as they cut the line with a knife. In order to assess and make sure the seagull was okay, they descended the ladder to give it a quick checkup. With both the dog from the river and the seagull from the parking lot, Exeter's fire department is always equipped and ready to assist any and all who are in need in our town.
The Exeter Rotary Club is once again hosting its annual Stuff the Bus food drive. Dan Monchek has all the information you need to get involved.
The annual Stuff the Bus food drive is coming back to Exeter on Saturday, April 12th. The Exeter Rotary Club, in partnership with the St. Vincent de Paul Community Assistance Center, are collecting food to combat the increased demand that the food bank sees during the summer months.
Stuff the Bus is critical because of the time of the year that it falls on. The summertime when children are out of school is our busiest time of year. And being able to select specifically what families need that we serve is immensely helpful. So we get to stockpile some things and able to distribute them all summer long.
Recently, there has been a huge increase in the demand for St. Vincent de Paul's services, which has put a strain on the food bank.
There's a line out the door before we open our pantry. Our food pantry sessions are open 5 days a week. We have 5 different sessions, and they're overwhelmingly populated with our clients currently. So that means we're going through a lot more food than we had been in the past. So it's critical that we continue to receive support from our community in order to feed our neighbors in need.
If you're interested in donating, you can visit Hannaford of Exeter or Market Basket and Shaw's of Stratham from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on April 12th. Each of these participating stores will have prepackaged bags full of goods that the food bank needs. This event and the operation of the Community Assistance Center would not be possible without the help from volunteers.
Our volunteers are critical. They're the backbone of our operation. We have a very small staff, but we have over 100 volunteers. They're critical to our operations.
For more information about this event or to sign up to volunteer, you can head over to exeterrotary.org to learn more.
The Select Board met last Monday to discuss several items, including a New Hampshire Senate bill affecting the town's health insurance through the NH Health Trust. Dan Monchek has this recap from our Meeting Minute series.
This is your Meeting Minute for the March 17th Select Board meeting. The meeting began with a Select Board reorganization, which gave the board the opportunity to select a chair, vice chair, and clerk of the Select Board. The board unanimously voted to have Nico Papakonstantis as chair, Molly Cowan as vice chair, and Nancy Belanger as clerk.
I'm incredibly humbled in the faith and trust that the board has in me, and it is indeed an honor and a privilege to work with the four of you. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you.
Up next, William Keegan of Keegan Associates gave an update on his management report. Back in January of 2024, the town of Exeter brought in Keegan Associates to take a look at the organizational structure of the town. They provided an outsider's perspective on how the town is operating today and how it could be improved in the future. Over the past year, the town has implemented many of the structural changes suggested by Mr. Keegan. The board discussed some of the challenges they face regarding employee retention and filling vacant spots, specifically in the Department of Public Works. This spawned conversation around housing affordability issues.
The community I was in, the average home is about 1.6 million right now. And so try and translate it into public servants who can't afford to live in that community because of that. So it's astounding to me.
I mean, we have a crisis coming in, certainly in New Hampshire, but in everywhere if there's literally nowhere where people can afford to live. Mm-hmm. But I do think that should be part of how we think about some of these issues in a more holistic approach. So it's not just, oh, Steve, you can't fill your DPW slots. It's like there is a problem that is larger than what you are able to fix at this time.
This is a long-term problem. This is I with all of the things that I try to attend every webinar and get my hands on and listen to all these opinions, and there's no quick fix.
The board went on to discuss an update to SB 297 regarding legislation at the state level that would make the town responsible for losses that the health trust incurs.
So basically this legislation is saying that we can't participate in health trust health insurance without this reserve fund, which, as we know in our form of government, we'd have to bring to the voters. We would have to get approval for it. And there's inherent issues with that and how that would work. It's not an overwhelming dollar figure per se, but it is overwhelming in a process way.
What we're seeing is the majority party wanting to be able to say we've cut all of these taxes, and we've, without understanding or without explaining that actually this just goes onto your local property taxes. I will remind everybody again what Governor Ayotte said during her budget address about how she's tightening her belt and she expects local elected officials to also tighten our belts. And to that I say, how do you expect that when all of these unfunded mandates are coming our way without listening to us? Or, the elected leaders in Concord are thumbing their nose at what local communities want to do.
If it's public insurance, so a public entity that is creating the insurance pool, the Secretary of State has responsibility for it, not the insurance commissioner.
Correct.
That's incredible.
Bananas.
Yeah.
That's
so stupid. Sorry. Sorry to use such a short staccato word, but it is stupid.
The board unanimously voted to write a letter supporting the health trust position on SB 297. The next select board meeting will take place on March 31st in the Novak Room. See you there.
Exeter Lit Fest is returning to town next weekend to celebrate Exeter's rich literary scene. Gabe Perez has more information about the upcoming event.
Saturday, April 5th is the return of the Exeter Lit Fest, a celebration of all things literary in the town of Exeter and beyond. This year's Lit Fest will feature a multitude of authors, both local and national alike, with two featured authors being J. Courtney Sullivan, author of The Cliffs, a story about family, secrets, ghosts, and homecoming set on the seaside cliffs of Maine, and Dr. Taya Miles, author of Night Flyer, Harriet Tubman and the Faith Dreams of a Free People. The whole event will begin on April 4th during a kickoff concert in the library and officially get underway on the 5th with Cynthia Copeland, author of the graphic novel Drive, at 9:30 a.m., with the rest of the speakers being present in the Exeter Town Hall. If you're interested in seeing what will be in store for this event, you can visit their website at exeterlitfest.com. Then, on April 6th, you can pay a visit to Art Up Front Street at 120 Front Street to see their companion exhibit to the Lit Fest, Conspiracy of Spirit, an ekphrastic poetry of art and show, an exhibit featuring 14 poets writing in response to 13 local artists, with closing receptions going from 2 to 5 p.m. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit their website at artupfrontstreet.com.
Up next is an update from the Exeter Public Library.
Hi, I'm Shelby over at the library, and here is your library update. Next Friday, April 4th, the library is hosting an after-hours party from 6 to 8 p.m. Join us for a night at the library, including a music performance by Portsmouth Symphony Orchestra and food provided by local restaurants. This event is sponsored in part by the Friends of Exeter Public Library and Exeter Lit Fest. On Thursday, April 17th, there will be a live poetry reading by a number of local poets, so poetry lovers, mark your calendars for Thursday, April 17th at 5:30 p.m. For the history buffs, we have The Nation's Guest, a history of General Lafayette in his time in New Hampshire. That will be presented by Peter McGuire on Tuesday, April 29th at 6 p.m. These events are free and open to the public, no sign-ups required. And for our final update, I would like to introduce you to Exeter Public Library's new director.
Hi, I'm Julia Lanter, and I'm the new director here at your Exeter Public Library. I'm here to introduce myself today. I hope a lot of you already know my face because you've been visiting the library all along. If you're not, please join the other card holders. We have about 6,000 card holders here at Exeter Public Library, and those 6,000 card holders just within the last year have saved in excess of $2,328,000. So if you are looking for a place to save money, stop by the library. We have so many events to offer for you. I know you've heard a few from Shelby Lennon and our other staff throughout the months, but we have lots of more exciting programs to come So come visit the library, see what all the awesome books and more are about.
And for our last segment, we heard about 2 Exeter High School track records that were recently beaten. As a former holder of the school record in the 4x800 meter relay myself, I decided to take a trip over to the track to learn more about the record-breaking races. On the start line in New York City, 4 sophomore girls were about to run their final race of the season at Nike Indoor Nationals.
All right, there we go. 8 teams in competition. Once again, Wizard Track Club New York, Blue Hawks, New Hampshire, Bucks County, PA, Long Island Alliance, New York, Shea New Race Crew, New York, Valhalla, Utah, North Stars, New York, and Massaponax, Virginia.
The twin duo of Lexi and Bree Paterna got the Blue Hawks off to a great start in the race, taking an early lead.
Paterna, the Blue Hawks, the sophomores. The Blue Hawks are running an all-sophomore team, and they are now in the lead. 4 sophomores running for the team from New Hampshire.
I think getting out hard is always something we try to go for. I mean, it's only 4 laps around that track, so try to keep a consistent pace, get those splits, and just finish hard.
And a lot of us didn't have company during our legs, so that was kind of hard to keep pushing and have motivation. We thought we were gonna have company the entire time, but it was.
I mean, we did, but those middle too.
The Blue Hawks were running out in front at the Armory, one of the highest level facilities for indoor track and field in the country, where collegiate and Olympic athletes race around their banked 200-meter track, a different atmosphere from the normal meets the Blue Hawks are used to.
It was crazy. Everyone is so good, and everyone just knows what they're doing on a regular meet here at UNH. It's just low key, but the Armory the music was playing, and during the anchor leg, they even turned off the lights, and it was really cool.
Yeah, so. Especially the walkout, and
the walkout.
Just being with the top runners in the nation was really cool.
The Paterna twins, Brianna and Alexis, have taken it to this field, letting them know that the small state of New Hampshire is not to be trifled with tonight.
Running alone with the big lead, Bree handed off to Izzy Bremer running the third leg.
My job as third leg was pretty much to just really extend the gap that was there and just kind of push through what Bree had already accomplished.
Isabel Bremer, just as her teammates have done, is taking it out very, very strongly. What was a 1-second gap has increased to 4.
The final 4 laps of the race were left up to Eli Cross.
Yeah, they all did a great job, and I definitely feel like anchoring is stressful when you get it in first because it's kind of pressure's all on you. They did a great job, and it's kind of up to you how it goes.
The Blue Hawks continued to race hard, but with 2 laps to go, the other team started to close in. With 1 lap to go, the bell rang and the lights went down. Crowds cheered as the best high school middle distance runners raced to the finish line.
But oh my goodness, Sophia Graham finding another gear. It is a 3-team race. Sophia Graham.
The efforts of the all-sophomore team paid off. Although they finished third, the group managed to beat the previous Blue Hawk indoor track record for the event by 15.17 seconds. They also finished in the top 6 teams, earning themselves All-American honors.
Honestly, I think we're all kind of still in shock. It was just a crazy day, and I don't know, it just seemed like that's such a huge title, and we never thought this would be possible, especially as sophomores, and to have this honor all together is really special to have something to share.
Yeah, it just hasn't sunk in completely yet. It just feels like just any regular student athletes.
It's pretty crazy. We were all crying after. Yeah, it's literally crazy. Random town in New Hampshire, and we're number 3 at Nike Nationals. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
The 4x800 relay team was not the only one competing at the Armory. We caught up with 2 of the 4x400 meter runners, Madeline Pouty and Martell McBride to talk about what it was like in their race.
It was so fun. It was honestly such an honor to be able to have that opportunity. It was really fun to compete against amazing runners and just be able to get that whole experience.
Yeah, it was definitely electric in there. I mean, the music blasting, like the huge crowd, it was a really cool experience.
Strong move by the Blue Hawks, trying to bring them up into contention. But out in front, Batavia has been there since the get-go.
The relay team beat the school record for the indoor 4x400 meter by 3 seconds.
I think honestly our main goal was to break our school record. We've been trying to do that for the whole indoor season pretty much with our team, and I think it was just a really tempting goal because we wanted to do it for so long, but it was also really hard, so we really had to push through it with each other and use a lot of teamwork to get there. So.
I also think that we tried to have a little bit less pressure on ourselves and kind of just have fun. There was nothing to lose, and it was our last indoor race, so we kind of just wanted to go out with a bang, so we tried and we got it.
I think it's super fun, especially because it's the 4 of us girls that got the record, and we're all super close friends, so it's just fun to be on the record board with each other.
With temps rising and the snow gone, the girls and the rest of the Blue Hawk track athletes now turn to the spring outdoor season. You can watch the action on the track on March 16th for their first meet at Salem, or catch their home meet on May 6th. That does it for this week's report. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to help us spread the word. And head over to the town website and subscribe to the town's email newsletter to get this show and other local news sent straight to your inbox. We'll be back on April 11th for the next edition of the show. For Exeter TV, I'm Bob Glowacki, and this has been the Exeter Biweekly Report. Have a good weekend, Exeter.
The moon was hidden behind the clouds, but that didn't stop the Conservation Commission from getting the community together to hit the trails for their annual full moon hike at Rains Farm.
The property itself is also really neat. It's open year-round. We don't have a lot of fields. We have a lot of woods in Exeter, but this is one of the beautiful field habitats that we have.
With deep snow covering the path, everyone had to strap on their snowshoes and get ready to start stomping around the nearly 50-acre property. After walking through the snow-covered field and woods for a mile or so, everyone gathered at the barn.
And definitely check out the barn, which a lot of work has gone into restoring it, and it's kind of a work in progress, but it's looking a lot better now, for sure.
Inside of the barn, the Conservation Commission served hot chocolate, tea, and cookies for everyone to enjoy. The cover from the barn and warm drinks provided a much-needed oasis from the cold weather.
Did you want to walk?
We did.
How was it? Did you like it? Yeah.
Just outside the barn, a bonfire roared as hikers got to relax and hang out around the warmth of the fire.
There's a lot of opportunities to use the barn. It's town-owned, so we are looking for ways to use it. And this is an event where people can check it out.
The barn served as a great home base for the night and showed off the possibilities for the town to utilize the space in the future. With spring just around the corner and warmer weather on the horizon, it's the perfect time to hit the trails and explore the natural side of Exeter. The Conservation Commission is working to make our local trails more accessible through the Hike Exeter Challenge. To learn more about the challenge, I went on the Henderson Swayze hike with a member of the Conservation Commission, Kyle Welch.
We're always trying to get people to go out and explore some of the great conservation land opportunities we have in town. I do a lot of hiking up in the White Mountains, and they have this thing where if you hike all 48 of the 4,000-foot peaks in the White Mountains, you get an AMC patch, and it's a really popular program. And so we figured we'd kind of do a similar thing down here on a smaller scale.
The Conservation Commission posted a series of 6 different hikes across Exeter. The challenge is to complete all 6 of these hikes and submit an application to join the Hike Exeter Club. Upon completion, you will receive a Hike Exeter sticker as a trophy for the hard work you put in on the trails. The Conservation Commission has made attempts in the past to get people hiking in Exeter, but this one seems to be catching on.
We'd post the map and we'd describe the hike, and then we'd come back the next day after we did it, and you could just see all the footprints in the snow, that there was actually a ton of people that had gone out and done it. There's been a lot of people that have gone out and done the hikes and then either said, oh, I had no idea this property was even here,
For more information about the challenge and to find all 6 of the hikes, head over to exeternh.gov/cc/hikeexeterchallenge. And be sure to check out the Hike Exeter Facebook group. There's no time limit to this challenge, so finish at your own pace. It's time to get hiking.
The Exeter town election began on Tuesday, March 11th at 7 a.m. A steady stream of Exeter residents made their way through the Talbot Gymnasium in order to cast their ballots for the pressing issues in our town. 13 hours passed by quickly, as 2,296 ballots were casted, a 17.6% turnout of citizens. Select Board member Dan Chartrand was able to give us a few words on how the town functions as efficiently as it does.
Well, we do need a lot of volunteers to run our elections. A few years ago, like 5 to 10 years ago, we had a group of folks that had been doing it for a long time, and they were running out of steam. Our town moderator, Kate Miller, and our town clerk, Andy Kohler, have done a great job of recruiting a new generation of volunteers to administer the elections, and so we can always use more. And again, we need you to volunteer to help run these elections, because without the volunteers, we don't have elections.
By the end of the night, with the doors locked and final voters make their exit, the town's volunteers get to work counting the ballots, a process that took several hours of work to make sure everything was done correctly. Late into the night, town moderator Kate Miller was able to announce the results.
These are the results of the town election for the town of Exeter, New Hampshire, March 11, 2025. For Selectman, Julie Gilman, 1,786 votes. Nico Papakostantis, 1,699. For trustees of the library.
Notable articles passed, such as Article 3 to create a new groundwater source off Drinkwater Road, with 1,495 yes to 710 no. Article 4, which includes the removal of Pickpocket Dam, with 1,501 yes and 723 no. And the town's operating budget, with a yes vote of 1,431 to 772 no. Nights like these are what help keep the town of Exeter running. Voters and volunteers alike should feel accomplished for contributing to keeping the greater whole of Exeter the town it deserves to be. If you would like to see the remaining results of the election, including the results from the cooperative school system and SAU 16, you can visit the town website at exeternh.gov/elections.
For this week's report. Parks and Rec creates community through an indoor walking group. The fire department rescues another animal in Exeter. Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well. Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well. Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well. Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Okay, welcome back to the March 31st, 2025 Town of Exeter Select Board meeting. The board was in non-public from 6 to 6:30 approximately, and then 3 board interviews in the wheelwright room. So we're ready to start our regular business meeting. I'd like to start by saying good evening to my colleagues on the board, respective town staff, those in attendance, and certainly those watching at home. We'll start by introducing the board. To my right, Selectman Dan Chartrand. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Our Vice Chair, Selectwoman Molly Cowan. Good evening.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Our Clerk, Selectwoman Nancy Belanger. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Selectwoman Julie Gilman. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
And our Town Manager, Mr. Russ Dean. Good evening.
Good evening.
Our Assistant Town Manager, Melissa Roy. Good evening. And our Recording Secretary, Joanna Bartel. Good evening. And my name is Nico Papakosendis. I'd like to start with public comment. If there's any members of the public that would like to comment on anything that's not on the agenda, we'd invite you up to the microphone. No. You're going to wait? Okay. And I'll look to see if there's anybody online. I don't see anyone, so last call on public comment. Before we move any further, I'd like to just acknowledge some sad news that we received several weeks ago that one of our long-term residents and volunteers, Lionel Ingram, passed away. For those that know Lionel, he was a lifelong decorated military officer, I believe a colonel, in the United States Army. He was a professor at the University of New Hampshire. And locally, he served on the planning board for many years before serving on the select board for 9 years. And most recently gave his efforts to the River Advisory Committee. And though I knew Lionel, I really got to know Lionel very well, serving on the River Advisory Committee with him. And he was a fascinating person to talk with. He was just a very gentle, kind soul. And our thoughts and prayers are with his family, and I know we're all going to miss him tremendously. I will miss him. And in his honor, I would ask that we have a moment of silence for Lionel Ingram. Thank you. May his memory be eternal. Mr. Dean, bless you.
Thank you.
Did you want to say a few words about Lionel?
Yes, he was a mentor and a friend, and I'll miss him. Thank you.
Anybody else on the board?
I loved that when he was serving our military, he and I used to joke, this is a good room, but he used to be in really big rooms serving our country for NATO, and the work he did. It's just so incredible, especially thinking about right now at this time. He really He not only advanced the interest of this town, but he advanced the interest of our country and the world.
Thank you. Well said.
I have nothing to add. Thank you both or all three of you for everything you've said. And thank you to him and his family for her service to our town.
Thank you.
And our country.
I know, and I think one of the best things that he did for me personally was to encourage me to run for office and serve in this seat, which was really meaningful.
Thank you. Okay. We have two sets of minutes this evening. We'll take up the first set, which was the regular business meeting of March 17th, 2025. I would ask the board if there were any amendments or revisions to those minutes.
On the March 17th?
17th.
Yes, you were sworn in that evening, and you're not listed as, right?
I believe I was.
Right. So
we certainly hope so.
We need to add our chair back into the swearing in of elected officials under A. Please.
We just assumed, I guess.
You've become a fixture when you're not in the meeting right now.
Good catch. So like very glad.
Any other revisions? Okay, and seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the Exeter Select Board regular meeting minutes of March 17th, 2025 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the March 24th minutes. I have a couple of revisions. Joanna, do you have a copy of those? You do not.
You want me to give her mine? Or, no, Dan to the rescue.
Yeah, because I've written notes all over mine. Thank you, Selectman Chartrand. So, under 3, approval of minutes, the last two motions, the first one that says Mr. Chartrand moved to seal the non-public, and then the next one that said Ms. Belanger moved to adjourn from non-public, those just need to be flip-flopped because we voted to exit non-public before Mr. Chartrand moved to seal the minutes. That's the small change. When you go to the back page, under 5 non-public, the first one is correct. Ms. Belanger moved to enter into non-public, and then the board moved to non-public at 4:09 p.m. That part is correct. But then I'm just going to read my notes because that's how it should have been attached. And then, Joanne, if you don't catch it, I can type it for you tomorrow. But it should read: at the conclusion of the non-public session, Nancy Belanger moved to exit non-public. Molly Cowan seconded the motion. By roll call, the board voted 5-0 to exit non-public. Dan Chartrand moved to seal the non-public meeting minutes indefinitely. Nancy Belanger seconded the motion. The board voted 5-0 in favor of the motion. It was not a roll call. Nancy Belanger moved to adjourn the meeting. Molly Cowan seconded that motion, which passed 5-0, and the select board meeting adjourned at 4:23 p.m. Does that work for the rest of the board?
It does.
Yeah. Do you need a motion?
Did you get all that, or?
Similar to what's here, maybe you could take it.
I will. Okay.
So I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as amended by our chair.
March 24th. And I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. As I indicated at the start of the meeting, we had 3 board interviews this evening, and I'd like to take up the appointments right now if we can. The first was to appoint Maisie Sanderson as an alternate to the Pearpoint Park Stakeholders Advisory Committee. And there's no term on that.
2026, I believe.
That was the 2026?
2026.
Okay. Then I will take that back. It's an alternate position to expire April 2026. I would entertain a motion to appoint Maisie Sanderson to the Pearpoint Park Stakeholders Advisory Committee with a term as an alternate with a term to expire April 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to appoint Timothy Willis as an alternate to the Facilities Advisory Committee with a term to expire April 2026.
So moved with my thanks.
Second. 2028, but okay.
I thought you said 2026, no?
No, it's, the charge talks about 3-year terms, but it doesn't specifically say the term on the website. So Ms. Belanger and I talked about maybe it being a 3-year term to start.
Okay.
We can stick with
Well,
it.
why don't we, do you want to withdraw your?
Sure. I withdraw my motion.
Draw my second.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion to appoint Timothy Willis as an alternate to the Facilities Advisory Committee with a term to expire April 2028.
I will make that motion again with my thanks to Mr. Willis.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then finally, I would entertain a motion to appoint Jay Childs to the Budget Recommendations Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll jump into our discussion action items. The first is the lease between the Chamber of Commerce, Town of Exeter, which we discuss this time every year. Yes.
I am going to recuse myself.
Okay, understood. Mr. Dean, can you speak to this?
Yes, this lease is with the Chamber of Commerce. They lease space down at the town hall, and it is for a 1-year term. And there are some terms and conditions in the lease. One is that in the extension provision, the term may be extended up to 60 months by mutual agreement. The rent is $6,000 a month, or $6,000 a year, excuse me. Sorry about that, Jen.
Yikes.
Poor Jen. She's
Jen Wheeler, the
sitting on
president of
chair.
the chamber, is here with us tonight.
Okay.
And can also speak to
Jen.
the terms of the lease if the board has any questions.
I do have two. The
Please.
points I want to make. First, I want to thank Jen and the Chamber of Commerce. You guys do so much. Your organization does so much for our town, and it's so appreciated. And I'm already looking forward to the Chili Fest. So just for transparency purposes, I want to just point out, in number 4, property tax, I did ask for these numbers. So just so we're aware, the property tax for that unit averages $2,668.50. And then in number 6, under utilities, it is averaging about $897 a year. So there's still some money for the town, but I'm fine with it. I just wanted to have it out there. And then one paragraph 12, I just want to propose a little change in the language. Let's see here. And my apologies, because I was just handed the suggested language. So right now, it says the parties agree that upon termination of this lease, the repaired judge's bench will remain in the space, and any improvements made to the space will revert to the lessor. So I just want to add, and I think it's fine to add at the end of the sentence that we have now, but others can weigh in. Prior to making any improvements to the leased space, the leasee shall seek prior approval from the lessor, and it is acknowledged that the judge's bench is in good condition, and this will be maintained throughout the term of the lease. And it's really just to dot the i's and cross the t's.
Fine with me, too.
Any objections, Selectwoman Gilman?
No.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Jen? Or?
Sure.
Okay.
I can.
Sure.
So do that. Great.
So good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see you. For those that don't know, I'm Jennifer Wheeler. I have the pleasure of serving as the president of the Exeter Area Chamber of Commerce. We've been really happy to call 120 Water Street home since 2017, I believe it is. Throughout that time, we've tried everything we can to support our local businesses and to grow community partnerships. People ask me all the time what the role of the chamber is, and when it boils down to me, the role of the chamber is to be the intersection and the connection point between business and community. So being right there in the hub of downtown is really important to that mission, and we're very happy to be there, and again, send our thanks to the select board for allowing us the opportunity to be there.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Jen?
No, I think it's a great location. I'm glad you're still going to remain in that spot.
And Mr. Dean, typically you sign the agreement on behalf of the town?
I do, typically, yes.
All right. And this could be characterized as a renewal?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
So that's still characterized even with that one change in that paragraph. We're still fine with it being a renewal.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Thank you.
Let's try this. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the renewal lease agreement between the town of Exeter, New Hampshire and the Exeter Area Chamber of Commerce as amended for the period of April 1st, 2025 through April 1st, 2026, and authorize the town manager or their designee to sign the agreement on behalf of the town of Exeter.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Good to see you, Jen.
Okay. Next order of business is a public hearing for acceptance of a canine grant. And as such, I need to read the notice of public hearing. Notice of public hearing pursuant to RSA 31:95B 3A. Notice is hereby given that the Select Board of the Town of Exeter will hold a public hearing in the Novak Room, 10 Front Street, Exeter, beginning at 7 p.m. on the 31st day of March 2025, for the purpose of complying with the provisions of RSA 31:95B 3A for the following. Excuse me. To accept granted monies to the Exeter Police Department in the amount of $32,000 from Stanton Canine Foundation to be used for items listed in the model budget, including Green Dog, and trained for the purpose of work police work. The dog should come with a 1-year health guarantee, along with a guarantee of success in completing a canine training course, initial training, BPD canine handler course, or comparable facility, and service training, canine handler, cost of cruiser conversion for canine team use, outdoor 6 by 12-foot kennel and doghouse at handler's home, miscellaneous training and handling equipment, which includes collars, leashes, bite sleeves, exercise balls, canine bulletproof vest, dog food, 3 years at $650 per year, vet care allowance, 3 years at $1,000 per year, and reserve for contingencies, 10% reserve for future canine skills training. And this was dated March 4th, 2025. I would now entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
So motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is open. We'll open it up to public comment. Okay. Seeing no public comment, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And Chief Poulin or Deputy Chief McCain, would you like to speak to this brief? Good evening.
Thank you. The Exeter Police Department once had a canine unit, a patrol canine, which ended back in 1992. Since then, there has been some interest in it, but when I took over in 2019 as your chief, very cautious with this kind of endeavor. It takes someone, a handler that is very, has the right mindset for such an animal. that has the appropriate living conditions for such an animal. And then we need to justify it to our folks. Is it the best return of investment? Is it the best thing for this town? So in 2024, we hired a gentleman named Connor Kennedy. He came to us, he's a U.S. Marine, and he actually came to us after serving with a private contractor in a canine capacity, sweeping large buildings for events, for bomb detection and other kinds of contraband. Let him get his feet wet, so to speak, in patrol, become acclimated, and then he came to us with the idea of becoming, his lifelong dream is to be a police canine handler. A little fun fact is his brother just became the first Derry, New Hampshire canine handler as well, so it kind of runs in the family. So we sat with Connor and really picked his brain as to why, what this looked like, the big picture, and he had a beautiful proposal, and his heart is really in it. For Exeter, what that looks like is an immediate use of a patrol canine, which is going to be dual purpose. It's going to be trained in search and rescue, finding missing people, which we could have used several years ago. We had a person with dementia wander off, and it was many hours until they were found on the side of the river in Swayze. Could have been a very tragic incident. Had we had a tracking canine, that person would have been found much quicker. We often have missing juveniles that take off from home, things like that. A lot of elderly in our town, so we do have the walk-offs. And not only that, it will be dual purpose, so it will be also a narcotics detection dog. We know that Exeter is not immune to the drug epidemic. So with this will be another tool in our tool belt to help with that. So, Josh has some things he would like to say too, having come from a police department that has multiple canines, and we'll turn it over to him.
No, yeah, it's the timing's right for our department and our town right now. I want to put the board and everybody at ease. Like, there was a lot that went in. We've had a canine selected for us. It's just not the chief or I or even the canine handler picking the dog out. There's a lot of people that have a lot more experience to do this, to include the breeder or the kennels that they come from. We're not getting a puppy. It will be a 15-month-old Belgian Malinois. So it's already being trained prior to us even taking or receiving it, if we do. And specifically, when the officer that we selected to be the canine handler, and we also picked a supervisor to be a canine coordinator, we developed an accepted, accredited 9-page policy just to address everything with the dog. Part of that is having that oversight. They went down to meet the dog, and there was several dogs to choose from, as you can imagine, and the actual the kennel or the breeder really nudged us towards one because she felt comfortable that this was the right temperament dog for our town. As you can imagine, dogs have different personalities, and some of them have to go to work in different areas, and that's what we're talking about. It's a working dog, but she felt very, very strongly as the dog that ultimately we're going to select has the right temperament for what Exeter has. And, I don't claim to be a canine expert. Quite frankly, I'm the exact opposite. But I have worked for 25 years in law enforcement at a different agency that had multiple canines. Throughout that, I've probably seen 6 or 7 different dogs throughout my career. And what's interesting is being around that in the experience, I never, ever heard of the Stanton Foundation. And I can't speak for the chief, but I don't know if we did as a whole. And there's probably 50 years of law enforcement experience right sitting in front of you right now. So, in today's climate in law enforcement, everybody tells us we have to trust our employees. And we have a young employee that has knowledge, and he's the one who brought this to us, and we applied for this grant, and they selected us to receive it. So, I think it's a very good thing for our department and our town if we do it correctly, which both of us sitting at the table in front of you, that's what we pride ourselves on. So, you know, there's no doubt that I see this not succeeding. Like, this is going to be a success for our town, and we look forward to it, you know, and it makes us also self-reliant. It's not that canines aren't used in Exeter, but we have to rely on outside jurisdictions to help us when they can. Often that prolongs roadside interactions with people that don't have to be prolonged. It prolongs time when we actually need one to come help us find somebody that may have walked away, and all that time can work against us, and that's what the chief was harping on. I mean, I can share, we had an instance, and people remember, you know, we had an armed robbery, and the suspects went running down the road. And we had another jurisdiction say they're not going to deploy the canine, which had to put Exeter officers at a higher risk than need be if we could have just used the canine to clear out something. So there are definitely, just because we don't have one currently, does not mean that we're not utilizing canines in police work here. It's just we have to rely on other things. So I view this as it's an aspect to allow us to be, it's an asset that allows us to be self-reliant.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just also add, so we interviewed Officer Kennedy, but he also had to go through another strict, tenuous interview with the Stanton Foundation. They're just not taking our word for it. They're also making sure they want their program to succeed as well. And then just to piggyback on outside agencies, when you have something like that come in, you don't know what kind of training they've had. You don't know their temperament. So there's just more control to that by having our own as well.
So would there be like another person in the department cross-trained to be a handler if Officer Kennedy wasn't available, or how does that work?
Not a handler. We've identified one of our patrol sergeants to be a canine coordinator.
Okay.
So he oversees the paperwork, every aspect of logistics behind the program. But these dogs don't get cross-trained to have two different handlers. It's too confusing for them.
Sure.
So there is not a secondary handler for this. And I've never seen one when it comes to patrol work. That's how the military does it.
Yeah.
Like the dogs, basically you check them out of the kennel and they go to one handler and then they go to the X. But for law enforcement work, they're with their handler 24 hours a day. And they never get a break.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board?
I do.
Please.
Okay, a few, so bear with me. Right now, it says that the state police, New Hampshire State Police cover that service. Do we reimburse the cost of that? I'm trying to get down to the cost of this.
So anyone could cover that service. We could call Portsmouth, we could call Brentwood.
Hampton.
And do we reimburse them for that?
We do not need to reimburse them.
Okay. I'm not finding anything about wages. I know this grant, are we calling it a grant? Is it a grant?
It's a grant.
It's a grant.
Yeah. It doesn't cover wages.
No.
So I'm going to ask about wages or overtime. I also have a question if there's a stipend for the handler and also additional insurance.
Right.
And that cost.
So there is overtime incurred. There's U.S. case law that a patrol canine handler needs to be reimbursed 3.5 hours of overtime a week. That's 1/2 hour a day for care and training of the dog. And that we foresaw during our budgeting process and worked with Finance Director Stevens, and we came up with a line item for his overtime. So we saw that in advance, what that would be. And yes, I would imagine there is going to be some kind of insurance premium on this. We have yet to look into that.
Okay. And so this is a one-time grant, and it's $32,000, but then there are deferred notes next to 4 items. What is that?
Yeah, those were put on there. We had to purchase materials for a kennel and equip the cruiser prior to the dog. So those deferred ones were for later on. Those are food items, vet items, things like that. And those are for the 3 years. as
3
well.
years. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I said 1, didn't I?
Those
And
might
I'm-
be
yeah.
finance notes.
Okay. So now I get the deferred if it's 3 years.
And we're also going to be seeking any kind of volunteers or sponsorships through the vets, through, some of the local dog food places. We're welcome to seek that as well. And
As far as the stipend question, it's not a stipend position.
No, it's 3.5
And that's for general care,
hours.
24 hours a day.
No, I get it. I'm just trying to come up with the numbers because I'm really hesitant to add anything to our budget without knowing exactly what the cost is.
So it's-
We
that's
don't
been
know what we're
budgeted
looking at for money for the next, okay, so there's no, okay. That was it for me for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. So to be clear, that's already budgeted for, correct?
yes, sir, that's been budgeted. And back to maybe the stipend question, he remains an Exeter patrol officer. He will have the shift that he would bid normally, and he remains at his regular step that he would be at.
So if he's called out with the
he's called
dog,
out,
then it's overtime, right?
That's overtime, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But there's a lot of parameters for us to be able to call them out. Like,
I don't know what you mean by that.
it means we can't just call him for, like, there's only specific criteria that we would
Oh,
ever
yes,
recall
of
him
course.
from his house.
Oh, of course, I understand that. I just was trying to, and this was already added into the budget that just passed a few
Yes.
weeks ago. Thank you. Okay, that was it for me.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Just a comment. I appreciate the care that both of you and your department have taken in kind of tailoring this new program to Exeter specifics. I know you've pursued a community policing philosophy over the last number of years, and I assume that's what you meant when you said we really wanted to make this work within the philosophy of the existing philosophy of the department. So thank you for that care, both of you, and please give my thanks to Officer Kennedy as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've done your due diligence, brought in outside consultants or whatnot to look at this. And I think that the questions that Selectwoman Belanger asked were very good, legitimate questions from the budget. And I think that,
For the public, too. to
yeah,
understand.
I think
Yeah.
this will be, I'm pretty sure this is going to be successful. And from a budgetary standpoint, given the examples that you've given, maybe down the road, we're going to see this might actually save overtime money. But most importantly, I think it's going to enhance the public safety that you're offering to the community. So I think that's important to note as well.
No delay.
Thank
I
you.
like that, especially for missing people.
Yep.
I think it's important.
And for the well-being of your officers, as the example that you cited too. So I think this is a win-win. Thank you for doing this. Mr. Dean, I believe we only need one public hearing for this?
That's right, just one.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
Is there any chance that now that they've talked and I know what this is, I can try saying something, or is it too late?
Public hearing's still up.
We closed the public hearing, but if you have a question, you can go up.
It's up to you guys.
You go up. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
So my name's Amanda Kelly. I'm from 24 Prospect Street. And this is the first, I didn't know this was happening tonight, so this is the first that I heard about it while I was here to listen to something else. And just because it sounds like nobody else spoke at the public hearing and there's not a lot of questions from the board, I just wanted to ask the board, I don't know if you normally decide on things immediately. It just kind of sounded like maybe you were already ready to decide. If you've done separate research, you guys sound like you've done some research on this and you've talked to your officer. I just sat there doing some quick Googling on the ACLU website and things like that, and there are a lot of cons out there as well that I just don't know if you guys are aware of to ask them about before finalizing your decision. I just was pretty surprised by a lot of the stuff I found very quickly, and I just didn't know if, before you make a decision, if tonight's your last night.
Okay.
Can I?
So the answer to your question is there's certain public hearings. You need to have 2 or 3 public hearings. For accepting this grant, we only need 1 public hearing. There is material that, we reviewed in the packet. Certainly, testimony given by the chief and deputy chief, but I think the chief had his hand up to address your question?
Yeah, well aware of the hazards of such a tool. Many more hazards come with the taser, which we all carry and we have carried for over a decade. It all comes down to making sure the program is solid, has a solid embedded best practices policy, which we do, and vetting of the officer and constant supervision and revision if needed of a policy and procedures. So apples and oranges, depending on where you are, not only in the state, but in the country with how policing's done, and I can imagine how canine policing's done. So there are areas in the country where their SWAT members get no training and buy their own rifle and throw it in the trunk of their car and respond to calls. So there's legitimate issues in the ACLU with the cases they bring up, with everything, with prisoner transports, with use of force, with you name it. So we are aware of those, and this is why it's taken so long and why we don't take this lightly to implement such a program. Because at the end of the day, I'm answering to this. And I'm not going to stick my neck out for something that I think is going to fail.
Thank you.
And the training. It's definitely a lot of training involved before it's even activated. So that's why I'm comfortable with that.
Selectman Chartrand.
Thank you for speaking. I appreciate it. Your concerns are legitimate in general. In specific, I am assured by our chief and his assistant chief's track record that they know how to do this. I read the packet. I looked at some of the same things you did. I went and did a Google search. And it's just the approach of our police department is much different than I think those sort of worst or even maybe not worst, but not great case scenarios. I'm assured by the tempered, steady approach that they took to implement this, waiting to find the right officer, and just the track record that the chief and the assistant chief have. So thank you for your concern and your comment. It was definitely something I took into consideration, and in the end, their track record assures me.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else?
I mean, I guess I am, I also am not worried about it, but I do, one of the things that I do think about is the current climate that we're in. And I agree about the missing person especially, like that feels like a really important tool as we're, increasing our, how do we address some of the issues. And then I also really worry about who are we looking for right now. And so that is a thing that's like, it feels, like I wouldn't have had this reaction 5 months ago.
So maybe to set your mind at ease, the strictness of this policy, and I think maybe some of the imagery that's coming to our minds would be protests.
Yeah.
It's prohibited from being at protests.
It literally is written in
From
it.
being
You can't
deployed
use
to a protest, anything like that. We share those same sentiments.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I think that there's free speech. I think that there's, the thing like takings that are happening in communities. And I am not in favor of sort of like developing a policy around that. I trust the two of you. And I also am worried about the implications of enhanced policing and who are we looking for. So like those are the things that I'm nervous about.
That's legitimate.
That's definitely legitimate. But again, I go back to what you said, and there's a track record with the chief and the deputy chief and just the policing in Exeter as a whole. And you're personally speaking for me, your track record gives me the trust that I have in you, but also identifying the right dog for our community. And the two of you know our community, your officers know the community. So I feel comfortable that you've done your due diligence. I think your concerns are legitimate. Yours are certainly legitimate, given where we're at right now. But I trust our community. I trust our public safety, and I think this is going to be a benefit.
So I have a process question. What if it's determined by this board that this program does not work? How does it get rescinded? What's the process? Say if something happens, and I'm not saying it will, I just want to assure the public that there is a way to reverse this or to end it if there's some concern, something happens.
I think the board would need to raise that as an operational issue and have a conversation with the police department about it.
But my question is, if there's an incident and we feel we need to pause this, or what, can this board vote to do that?
I'll need to look at the chief on that for input.
For operational, we would certainly entertain a discussion, and, you know, I'm of like-minded opinions, so I don't believe the board can dictate the operations of the police department.
What happens if you are compelled to do something that you don't agree with? I mean, that's the other thing that I'm like,
I think like most things in operations, if there's an issue at the board level with implementing this kind of a program, the conversation starts with the town manager and then goes to the police department from there. And there's an operational recommendation made at that point as to what to do with the program if there is a real problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think we're getting way into the weeds, so.
Well, we are. I'm trying to, anyone that's out there who's listening right now or will be listening to this,
So
I
what
want
could
to
go-
ease their mind that,
What could go wrong? An innocent person gets bit, all right? That's what could go wrong, or the police dog gets shot, or what could go wrong? So I perform every year a deep down dive into our biases, into every single stop we make, every arrest we make, every use of force we make. And I look at everything: age, gender, race, time of day of week, location, reason for the call, warnings versus citations, out-of-state plate stops. I look at everything, and there is no indication of bias at the Exeter Police Department.
no, and I'm not alleging that there is. I'm just trying to cover the real, very legitimate concerns that Selectwoman Cowan brought up. And I'm just trying to find a way to.
So we would have a discussion, and I don't see myself going against the board unless it's completely ridiculous out of left field, which I don't see out of this board. I don't know about future boards.
Just like I don't see
Again,
future police chiefs.
So I would go through the town manager and then work with you all. But if there's an issue, and you guys know this now, my door's always open. I'm ready to meet and discuss
Okay.
and work things out. If it's an issue where it's that bad, I'm already going to be saying
I
we're getting
would,
rid of it.
okay, and that's what I would have expected from you
I'm not
anyway,
digging my
but
heels into
I still want to
something
have the
that's
conversation.
bad. That, you know?
Mr. Chartrand.
Mr. Dean's comment is the correct approach. This board works through the town manager. We do not go around the town manager. So if we have a concern, we bring it to the town manager, and we respect the chain of command. But I trust that if something's not right, you're going to be here. I just trust that, because that is how you've done it.
Right.
Whenever there's an issue, you don't hide. You're here. You're both here. So
Yes, and
I know this will work out.
can I just, I in no way meant to infer at all that I was trying to go over anybody's head or anything. I just was trying to get out what the process would be. So, yeah, thank you.
These conversations are very highly charged right now. We're in sort of uncharted waters. And these are very legitimate concerns that this board is raising, that Amanda raised. And I take a lot of comfort in the fact that you two are our leaders on the police department and two of our leaders in public safety.
I do too, and I am taking comfort in the fact that your officers swear an oath to the Constitution. Like, that is the, and I am still like, when I think you started pursuing this, I would have had a very different response.
Fair.
All fair.
Okay.
Anything else? If the board's comfortable, I would entertain a motion to accept the Stanton K-9 Unit Establishment Grant from the Stanton K-9 Foundation in the amount of $32,000, and to further authorize the Exeter Police Chief to sign the appropriate paperwork.
So moved.
And I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Selectman McDowell.
And thank you for a really thoughtful discussion. This is not a
Yes.
vote against your leadership. This is, I appreciate and respect both of you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
And for dissent.
That's right.
Dissent is always appropriate.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, we have our town planner, Dave Sharples, along with Scott Vogel from RPC to give us an update on the bike and pedestrian master plan. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Happy to be here tonight to provide an overview of the Exeter Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan that was recently finalized by the Master Plan Oversight Committee. It was a little while in the making for a variety of reasons, but we've got it done, and we're coming before you to present it. With me is Scott Vogel from the Rockingham Planning Commission, who we contracted to execute and develop the plan in concert with us. He'll explain a little details on that. Just wanted to mention that this was an action item in our 2018 master plan, was to do a master plan specifically on our bicycle and pedestrian network and identify areas where connections can be made, improvements can be made for bicycle and pedestrian safety. So with that, I will hand it off to Scott and you can present the plan.
Great. Thank you very much, Dave. I'm Scott Vogel. I'm Principal Transportation Planner with the Rockingham Planning Commission. I appreciate the time on your agenda this evening to talk about the Exeter Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan. So the Planning and Sustainability Department contracted with Rockingham Planning Commission to put this together with the scope including characterizing existing conditions for bicycling and walking in Exeter, conducting a community engagement program to identify concerns, desires, priorities among residents and downtown business owners and employees regarding biking and walking and bicycle and pedestrian safety in Exeter. Assemble a series of design strategies that the town should consider in future infrastructure investments. Characterize funding sources that would be available to the town to do this work, and then come up with a project-specific list of recommendations, both infrastructure and non-infrastructure related. So starting with the existing conditions piece, we produced a series of maps looking at the town's sidewalk network, lane and shoulder width, crashes, bicycle level of traffic stress, as well as bicycle and pedestrian trip volume using data from an app called Strava, and then looking at school zones, also doing a field review and a review of town ordinances. So Exeter has a lot going for it from the standpoint of bicycling and walking, and especially walking. Exeter has a vibrant downtown. There are events downtown that bring pedestrians to the town center on a regular basis. We have in-town elementary schools that make walking and bicycling viable for families with young kids and building habits to, that hopefully kids will carry with them as they grow up.
traveling by bike and on foot. The town has beautiful walking path options, certainly here along Swayze Parkway, but also the town trail network up in the Swayze Town Forest. And there were a lot of points made in the survey about desire to have better connection from the downtown out to Swayze Town Forest. The town has made considerable investments in improving the downtown sidewalk network, as well as making crossing improvements. In the summer of '23, there were crossing improvements made at 6 crossings on Front Street with high visibility signage, high visibility pavement markings, and I think these are a model that can be used elsewhere in town. And there's a fair amount of discussion in the plan about crossing safety. So that said, there are certainly areas of town where there is work to be done in terms of safety and accommodation. In particular, those tend to be along auto-oriented commercial corridors, such as Portsmouth Avenue and Epping Road, as well as on state highways where those highways transition from being kind of rural, higher speed, then coming into more developed areas. But here you can see this is Portsmouth Avenue at the intersection with Alumni Drive. You can see the sidewalk is in somewhat rough shape with successive layers of repaving. There's not much vertical separation between the sidewalk and the road. You see really the sidewalk at the corner there is at street level. You've got the post for the signal coming down right in the middle of the sidewalk, creating accessibility issues. Here's another example on Portsmouth Avenue near Prospect Street. Closer into town on Portsmouth Avenue, you have pretty good shoulder width, and then the shoulder really narrows out so that there's very little space for somebody to bicycle and then be passed by a car. While at the same time, we have 2 center turn lanes. So there's some opportunity here for reallocation of pavement space, potentially. Another example is on Front Street at Railroad Avenue. This and several other locations in town have very long crossing distances. You see here also that on the west side that you've got a curb. It's in 2 stages and probably 10 inches high, and so there's an accessibility issue there. And then we also identified multiple locations where people are crossing now. There's clearly demand for crossing, but we don't have crosswalks or warning signage in place. And an example of that is here on Water Street as Route 85 comes into town at the bottom of Park Street, where people come down and want to cross over into Swayze Parkway. So I'm not going to show you all of the maps, but just for a couple of examples, you see here lane width mapping. You see a gap in the center of town because in the town center, you don't have striped lanes, you don't have fog lines, and so there isn't a clear separation between shoulder and lane width. But the orange lines are 11-foot wide shoulders, the purple lines are 12 to 13-foot wide shoulders. New Hampshire DOT's policy for shoulder width, or for lane width on state highways is 11 feet if it's not a limited access highway. And reasons for that are that you really don't need 12 feet of lane width unless you're traveling at higher speeds or in some cases corridors that have a lot of truck traffic. But by narrowing the lanes a little bit, there's some traffic calming benefit, and it also allows a little more shoulder width for bicycle or in some cases pedestrian travel. The town has, I think, adopted a similar policy to DOT and over time has been narrowing the lanes, such as on High Street and out Hampton Road, incrementally narrowing lanes on those corridors to 11 feet. Similarly, looking at shoulder width, the standard for shoulder bicycle route, the federal standard is 4 feet or 5 feet next to a curb or a guardrail. We have in town here, you can see the yellow lines are shoulders that are 2 feet or less on Hampton Falls Road, Drinkwater, Court Street, down south of Larry and Gary Lane neighborhoods on Newfields Road, have 3-foot shoulders going out Kingston Road. So there are some opportunities potentially for widening shoulders in places. to improve bicycle safety. We also mapped crash data, 20 years worth of crash data from 2002 to 2022. Fatal crashes are the red diamonds. Fatal crashes involving a bicycle or a pedestrian, the yellow diamond. General bicycle or pedestrian crashes are the orange, and then all other crashes are blue. We actually had to add that yellow diamond because the data that RPC got from the state didn't show that fatal crash that happened at Winter and Front several years ago. And that's symptomatic of a problem that, generally speaking, bicycle and pedestrian crashes tend to be underreported. And I think that's kind of widely acknowledged. Nationally, the exact factor is unclear. So having gathered this information on the network, we conducted a fairly extensive community engagement program. We did a town-wide survey that gathered over 880 responses. We did a pair of outreach events, a table at Farmers Market, a table outside the polls, had a pair of focus group interviews. I believe that Selectwoman Belanger participated in one of those a while back. And we had, I think, half a dozen meetings with the Master Plan Oversight Committee, a couple of other meetings with town staff across departments to gather input for this. Of those 880 responses, about 69% were town residents. 21% were folks who either owned a business or worked downtown, worked in Exeter, pardon me. And then 10% were folks who were visiting Exeter for recreation or to do business. For the residents, you see here the distribution of where in town they lived. Certainly not going to go through all of the survey results, but there were several questions I wanted to show as those set up the recommendations for infrastructure improvements. So what, if anything, increases your stress and makes you feel unsafe? There was a question for this regarding walking in town and regarding bicycling in town. The concerns were fairly similar. Lack of sidewalks, or in the case of bicycling, lack of separation from traffic were the top for those two. Driver distraction, higher traffic speeds, and then design of intersections and crosswalks were the top 4 or 5 in each case. There's a question, if Exeter could improve conditions related to any of the following, to what extent would you be more likely to walk or bicycle? And the most common responses in terms of people saying they would be much more likely to walk or bicycle included more traffic-separated biking and walking paths, more and better connected sidewalks, enforcement of driver distraction, and then intersection and crossing safety improvements. There was a question on the survey that allowed the taker to place pins on a map. It's an online interactive survey, and there were a couple of hundred specific sites that people noted that they had safety concerns over, and here's a heat map of where those are located. So the most common connection requests from the survey were improving the shoulder connection to Swayze Town Forest trailheads up Newfields Road, sidewalk connection to the middle school, sidewalk connection to the Jolly Ranch Trail out Brentwood Road, connections to neighborhoods off of Court Street, specifically sidewalk connection down to Larry and Gary, connections to in-town playgrounds, Park Street Playground, Winter Street Playground, and then crossing safety improvements. So based on this input,
I think we had a question from Selectman Chartrand.
Just a quick, short question. The can you go back one slide? Connection to the Jolly Ranch Trail. Did the Kingston Road sidewalk project address that to some degree, or was this before that was done?
This the end of the Jolly Ranch Trail that people were talking about was Brentwood Road, extending sidewalks from Washington down across to Millstream and to that north end of the trail.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Good question. Based on that input, we worked with the Master Plan Oversight Committee, established 2 goals with associated objectives. So goal 1, improve safety for walking and biking in Exeter, with a specific emphasis on the downtown and then connections to destinations like schools, parks, playgrounds. Then continuing to improve visibility at crossing points with high visibility signage, high visibility pavement markings, and improved lighting. Keeping in mind accessibility for people of all ages and abilities. A note here has to do with brick sidewalks. They're attractive, people like them. They tend to deteriorate very quickly and become uneven and really become an accessibility problem. Continue to improve enforcement, especially related to speeding and driver distraction, and then thinking not just about the design and construction of facilities, but then ongoing operation and maintenance of those facilities. Goal 2, increase the number of people walking and bicycling in Exeter, both for recreational and utilitarian purposes. Objectives, encouraging walking and biking through community-wide outreach activities, as well as through schools, provide wayfinding and amenities. There was particular interest in improving the connection between Lincoln Street Station and downtown. Encouraging mixed-use development, just to have more opportunities where residential development is in close proximity to commercial activity, other destinations that people would want to be able to get to. And then ensuring that bicycle and pedestrian access is considered as part of site plan review for new development. So the plan provides kind of a toolkit of strategies that the town can use when thinking about infrastructure improvements. I'm not going to go into those in any detail, but we drew on research by the Federal Highway Administration looking at strategies that are documented as being effective in reducing crashes. Just looking in the lower corner here, crosswalk visibility enhancements. Just having high visibility crosswalk painting schemes can reduce crashes up to 40%. Having flashing beacons at crosswalks can reduce crashes up to 47%. Want to call particular attention to speed as a safety issue. I think most of us, particularly when we're driving on a highway, it's not uncommon to get up to 5, 8, 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Particularly at lower speeds, those small speed differences can make a big difference in survivability of a crash if a pedestrian's hit. At 20 miles an hour, your chance of surviving a crash is about, your chance of being killed in a crash is about 5%. At 30 miles an hour, that goes to 45%. At 40 miles an hour, that chance of being killed goes to 85%. So as we think about kind of enforcement thresholds and enforcement allowances, important to ensure that we're enforcing speed limits. We developed a set of project-specific recommendations, and working with the Master Plan Oversight Committee prioritized those. These were organized around a scheme called the 5 E's, with the idea being that it's not just about engineering. It's not just that if you build it, they will come. You also need to do some other things to ensure people are comfortable getting out there. And that includes education and safe sharing of the road and safe operating of a bicycle, encouragement activities so that people have incentives to try biking to work or walking to school, enforcement and evaluation. So project prioritization, we identified 50 projects. Came up with a prioritization scheme that had criteria including what's the degree of improvement, what's the anticipated usage that this will produce, what's the feasibility of the project, feasibility including likelihood of public support, cost, technical feasibility, sort of all rolled up together, and then also looked at order of magnitude, cost, and time frame. There's a map in there of the proposed infrastructure improvements in the back of the plan. And I think you all received a PDF of it. There's a multi-page table of those 50 projects that are arranged in order of what's a short-term project and then what's the likely cost and what's the benefit that would be derived from it. We did prepare renderings of several of the projects. So here you see that intersection of Front and Railroad again. Proposal is to tighten up that intersection so you can't take that turn at speed in the same way, create accessibility ramps on either side, add sidewalk. Here at Water Street at the intersection of Center, if you've crossed that crosswalk there, you know if you're crossing from the north side, you need to get well out into the street before you can see oncoming cars. So a recommendation to put a bump out there and then put flashing beacons so that oncoming cars can see when there's somebody waiting. And then Front Street at Winter Street by Winter Street Playground. Traffic coming into town on Front Street will often take a left, that left onto Winter at Speed. That was the circumstance when there was the fatality there. So the proposal here is to close off the backside of that triangle, tee up the intersection, and then add a crosswalk. And similar recommendation for Park Street Common for the playground there. Just briefly, the non-infrastructure strategies. We identified some strategies for education, for encouragement, enforcement including expanded use of the speed feedback signs that currently exist on High Street and on Route 85 as you're coming into town, kind of letting drivers know you're coming into a developed area, bring your speed down. Expanded enforcement on speeding and driver distraction. For evaluation, establish an annual bike ped counting program, improve collection and tracking of bike ped crash data, and then consider establishing a town bike ped safety committee. So that is the summary. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know you've got a long agenda.
Thank you very much. And this was interesting to go through the packet this weekend and all 50 of the recommendations. And I know you're doing a fairly brief summary for us. But are there any questions from the board?
I have a question.
Mr. Chartrand.
Are you a citizen of Exeter?
I was for a number of years.
I knew you were.
I used to live on Washington Street. Had a great but very small house, and when we were about to have kids, we needed a bigger house.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for all your work.
It's a good neighborhood.
Yeah.
Great neighborhood.
Selectwoman Belanger.
So first, thank you so much for using photos of Exeter, and also for the acronym glossary, which is very much appreciated. This is a lot to your report, and I really appreciate it. I'm glad we've gotten to this point. I know our town planner has been working on connecting sidewalks for quite some time. So thankfully, we're working toward in the right direction for this. One of the questions I had was on Guinea Road, where the CMS, is it CMS school? Yep. It's to be able to get the kids to be able to ride their bikes to that school. It's a little dangerous because we really, I don't think, can put sidewalks because of the width of the bridge there. Is it something that's feasible to put some flashing lights and share the road and or something so the kids could actually not be in a bike lane but share the road? Is that a safety issue or no?
There are recommendations in there for use of sharrows.
Yes, that's what got me thinking about it.
My recollection on that bridge is that there's width. There'd be I think a structural load issue trying to actually build elevated sidewalks there, but I think you could probably do something with like delineator posts or something.
Okay, so the width is, I don't know where I got the information about the width.
Pretty good width on that bridge.
Is there?
No, there's no room for a bicycle and a car going by.
What's that?
There's no room for a car with a bicycle going there without going into the next lane. For the car to go into the next lane.
I
think there might be. I drive it.
I'm pretty sure there are at least 5-foot shoulders on that bridge.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's something that I would like to see.
I'll have to look again.
For my focus, it's all over town wherever possible. But for the kids, for that school, and for our 10 Hampton Road, Parks and Rec, to see what. But I did appreciate the cost breakdowns, or at least the $1 sign, the $2 sign.
Order of magnitude.
Right, and so that was really appreciated. Can I just be, it's not, we have Bell Ave, and I think it says Belmore or something.
Is it Belmore? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I actually Googled it in case, I'm like, did someone change a name or add a street? And I forgot. I think it's on page 33.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have one or two questions, but I wanted to open up to the public. If the public had any questions or comments, give them the opportunity to come to the podium.
The podium, this one?
You sit next to Dave.
Yeah, I'll sit next to you.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
How you doing?
Andrew Elliott, also Washington Street. Good spot. So really happy to see this. This work is, I think, really good work. I think it's definitely was due and seems like the right thing to do. And I know personally I've advocated a lot for sidewalks and biking because I use them quite a lot. And a couple of those intersections, I fear for my life crossing the roads, and especially that one right near the train track. So that the rendering you showed there, big thumbs up. I just had a question about the prioritization list, and just generally, was it in order of your recommendation, the list of projects?
Yeah.
I think that list was in order, first short-term projects, then medium-term, then longer-term, the order that it appears in the table. And then within short-term, it was high priority, and then within the high priority projects, increasing order of cost. So I don't think we attempted to do an overall 1 to 50 prioritization.
Okay, all right.
Where we are comparing a crosswalk to a sidewalk extension.
Yes, very well. That's just wanted to confirm that was indeed the idea. I think there's definitely some priorities in terms of what would be nice to get done ASAP, especially that fatality, that area right there. There's no good way to cross that road right there, and it's a playground, right? So we should definitely take all this into consideration. But I highly recommend that we take every opportunity we can, and I will continue to recommend it in the budget recommendation committee to have funds for sidewalks and biking and everything else, because it's a big asset of this town, and part of the reason that people want to move and live here is that walkability, the bikeability, that community feeling, and there's no better way to see a city than by foot. So, good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yes.
If I may, I just want to credit Dave and town staff. Exeter has been really proactive in going after available sources of federal funding for bicycle and pedestrian improvements. That Railroad Front Street intersection, the town this winter submitted an application for federal transportation alternatives program funds. That was the top priority in the region, and so there's a very high likelihood that'll get funded. The town also submitted an application for a road safety audit for the Winter Street Front Street intersection. DOT did that road safety audit a couple of months ago. There's the potential to get federal highway safety improvement program funds to do that reconfiguration of that intersection. So staff are already using what's in here.
Great. Thank you for that. I'm not surprised.
No, neither am I.
He stole my
Good to
thunder.
hear it. He stole your
That's the only thing I was going to say. But may I? No.
Please.
I was going to follow up because a plan isn't any good unless you implement it. You know, like you do a study and then it sits on a shelf. No, you don't take the recommendations and implement them. That's where the rubber meets the road, really. I mean, you have to do the plan. It's a great plan, but now it's a matter of implementing. And we added another road safety audit out on the exit 9. For that whole interchange out there of Epping Road and Route 101, and we toured with the state on that, so that's coming as well. But yeah, I already hit the ground running. We already submitted a grant for the Railroad Ave connection and reconfiguring that intersection at Front Street. And a lot of these too are going to be, we'll try to fit them in as we see them, low-hanging fruit, obviously, go after those. But a lot of this would be waiting until there's like a water sewer project and kind of piggybacking on that when you're reconstructing the roadway to do these things.
Makes sense.
So we'll work with, DPW and Steve and, figure out what they have in the CIP and then, match it up with this and implement any of these recommendations at that time.
Okay.
That intersection, people would think that because it's so wide and that the line of sight there is dangerous sometimes. Because of the way, it's too much room, so people are navigating around each other. It's crazy. Yeah, so, anyway.
Well, Scott stole your thunder, but you answered the question I was going to ask later, so it's all yours. Please.
Come at the right time. So I have one question for you, Scott. So in the section where you talk about complete streets, I didn't realize that complete streets wasn't like a set of criteria or like you say a prescription. Because I know we've been waiting in the town to do certain things. We're waiting on complete streets. So can you just clarify a little bit more about that for me?
I can do that.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Scott, and then I'll take it. Go ahead. You had a thought.
Fundamentally, a complete street will look different in Boston versus Exeter versus Brentwood, sort of just the setting. And so fundamentally, it's a design process to ensure that you're thinking about the needs of every user of that street when you're designing a road improvement. So on a rural road, you may not have a need for sidewalks, and making that complete, say, would be a shoulder widening so that there's safer travel for people on bicycles. Whereas in a downtown area, ideally you'd want to have both sidewalks and then room for bicycles where you don't have bicycles crammed right up against the sidewalk. So we have actually, the town just contracted with RPC to develop both a complete streets policy and a set of complete streets design guidelines.
Okay.
And what that will include is we'll identify a number of different types of roads in town and recommended treatments for a given type of road.
Perfect. I think that's what I was looking for, and then I was just confused by that section. So
There were two different plans that we were going to go. There is some overlap, a lot of the data collection in here. We don't have, like lane widths and, sidewalk widths, all that can be, going to complete streets. So complete streets is a little more little different focus than this. This was more transportation network connections and, getting from people from A to B, where complete streets is like taking streets, looking at them individually and creating an environment for all users of the roadway, including vehicles, pedestrians, bicyclists, etc.
And do you know when that?
We just contracted. It has to be done this year, so it will be complete in 2025 because it was ARPA funds, so it will be complete this year. Probably more, next fall. Yeah.
But there's no one size fits all. It's always context specific.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct, because a lot of like downtown, you have your buildings, they set they're not moving. So you only have so much right of way in between and so much you can work with. In other areas like Epping Road or Portsmouth Ave, we got a lot more right of way to work with, so we can do a lot more. So it all depends on the specifics of what we have and the right of way width we own.
So when we say complete streets, we're looking for types of situations and different solutions depending on that context.
Right.
Correct.
And the other thing, I just had a comment that I'm just really excited to see this finally come out. And it's one of the final pieces, as you know, of the 2018 master plan. So my comment is just that between this and the downtown parking, traffic, and pedestrian flow analysis, especially because you on page 55 of this, cross-reference the Stanton proposal. I'm really just looking forward to hear the select board and town officials work together to iterate some tangible first projects to add to the CIP.
And actually, Mr. Chair, I am excited as well. But one of the things I've noticed is that people are taking their thoughts about these reports from newspaper headlines. Can you folks read the reports? Can I give you some homework? At least read an executive summary, if not the entire report. I have had so many conversations with individuals like, oh, you can't do that. And it's based on a newspaper article that in no way encapsulates what the report is saying. So got some homework for you citizens. Read your reports that your tax dollars paid for. And then let's have a conversation about this, because there's all kinds of ways to do this.
A great read. It was really user-friendly. I thought it was a great read, so
Yeah.
get on it, everybody.
And if I seem like I'm a little frustrated, it's true.
Well, I'm glad you spoke up, because usually I take the wrath of the local
I
journalists.
just don't take your information about these reports that we paid for from the newspaper. Thank you.
May I add one last thing as a follow-up to that, which I wanted to say at the end here? I was going to encourage everyone to read it as well, and I sent it to Kathy and Bob Glowacki, and I copied Pam, so it'll be on the website tomorrow.
Perfect.
And maybe Bob's going to put like a banner on the homepage just for a week or two to highlight it, so people don't have to search for it, to get it out there. But definitely give it a read. It'll be on there tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Good job.
And there are copies of the executive summary on the table by the door.
Other than next steps.
So you answered my two questions, and I think one of them was next steps. He's looking at what he can do now with grants and funding, and then as Public Works starts working on projects,
Then we'll be updated.
they're going to be talking to each other and
Yeah,
presumably
this is
coming-
great.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
This is the last checklist of the master plan before we start the next master plan.
Yes, yeah, and this will be like a guide for the, CIP, because we're going to embark on that pretty soon. We're going to start that up, and it already has on grants, so we'll work through the implementation on these recommendations.
And can I just add that, there was a time that probably too many reports sat on a shelf, but I think we've done much better, and we're very conscientious about when we get these reports, we follow up and do what we need to do to get things done. So I'm so excited about this.
Mr. Chartrand, then Mr. Elliott has a comment.
Please go ahead. I'll follow you.
Well, my comment is just more of a challenge to our town here, that we've got a list of 40-something suggestions. Can we make some sort of metric so we know how many we can get done every year? Like, come back with a...
You're talking to the guy that's the king of metrics, right?
Can you give us some sort of commitment? Maybe come back to the board once you've had a bit of more time to digest the whole thing. Because I know personally, I've seen projects on there since 2014, same projects or longer.
So I think the thing to take into consideration, and I second what you said, the king of metrics is sitting next to you.
Yes.
There are all kinds of variables, as you know from sitting on the Budget Recommendations Committee.
We gotta
And
be
this
able to pay
year,
for it.
I promise you, is going to be a very challenging budget season, given with what's going on presently.
Yeah.
So I think all of that will play in present into the future. And as we've seen in the past, depending upon where the funding's coming from, a delay can be completely out of our control. But the person sitting next to you and the person sitting behind you are regulars here and in the Novak room, and both the king of metrics. So I think that your point is taken, and we will continue progressing as we go.
Yeah, if something's number 3 on the list and something is number 8, and there's a grant available that's going to pay for something that would otherwise be really costly, there's an analysis done.
Yeah.
Right, you know that, so, yeah.
I'm not even the prioritized list. You do 45, if you do 5 a year, then we're talking about, by the time we're done with this, it'll be time for another one of these.
That's right. Thank you for your comment, Mr. Chartrand.
I wanted to loop back to you, Scott, and thank you for your work on this. You work at Rockingham Planning Commission, which is an incredible resource for this town, both as a provider of studies like this, but also as all of you are citizens of the downtown, and I so appreciate all of you being there. So, thank you.
We're thankful to be in downtown Exeter. Some of the other regional planning commissions are not in downtown. So downtown Exeter is a nice place to work. And actually, it's interesting that I was sorry to hear about Lionel Ingram's passing, but he was one of Exeter's commissioners to the RPC when I first started there. And so had some nice conversations with him years ago.
I wanted to offer my thanks to RPC.
Good man.
And to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Amanda and Andrew. Okay, moving along, Mr. Bison, step right up, please, and tell us about your latest fundraiser.
Pass this down the line. There we go. Fresh in the mail.
Solid.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
the
Chair.
bricks. And they're not that expensive.
Yeah, as you see before you, you pass the brick down, Exeter Parks and Recreation is seeking approval to implement a Buy a Brick program to continue the fundraising efforts for Planet Playground amenities, really enhancements and renovations. This is an affordable option for giving the families opportunities early to leave their legacy in as we rebuild Planet Playground in that area. Several companies obviously do this. We found a company, Polar Engraving, that has done some very impressive projects. But it's a simple brick program. Obviously, as you know, we're renovating, we're doing some pavement work. This is a campaign we would launch and then go back and cut into the pavement and then lay the pavement inlet so it'll be a nice border to it and stabilize it. I'll go through the process of how the program works and why we picked Polar. Polar offers free personal engraving and a donor site. It allows donors to place the orders online or in paper form as well. We'll get there. But we have final say on what's written. It was brought up at the other night's rec advisory board, and yes, we do have final say. We see all the proofs before. We don't want to have a vanity plate issue and someone put something inappropriate in there. It allows them to pick the ordering. All payments are through Exeter Parks and Recreation, so they're not doing it through a third party. They're doing it directly through us, and so once our campaign is over, we just place the order. So taking you through there, step one, the donor website, they can go on there. It has simple fields you fill in. You get 3 lines of characters for 15 characters each. And then we have an option to do clip art or specifics. I'd rather stay away from the clip arts and maybe something simple if we wanted to have the town seal included in it, if we wanted to have the Parks and Rec. We are thinking the National Park Service logo, something to memorialize where we've gone to. And then finally, once they place their order, we get an email notification and they get an order summary. So they're $25 a brick. We are actually proposing $100 a brick. More than one family can go on there, obviously, if you wanted to list the last names, about 15 characters. And then...
that rules me out.
Yeah.
You can have multiple lines, Mr. Chair. So, but yeah, this is a great opportunity. We have that great area going into the Planet Playground, and if we wanted to continue this, one of our members of the Rec Advisory Board, Mike Whistler's hometown in Iowa, did it, and they sold 6 blocks worth of bricks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we have the whole pathway that could go eventually to 10 Hampton Road. So the opportunity is there for anyone to place their legacy at the rec park for perpetuity.
Very cool.
ADA friendly?
ADA friendly. Yep. They'll be flush with the
You just did a big
pavement.
part of my report, yes.
Yep.
And who puts them in?
That's, Mr. Chair, depends on how many we sell. If there's a large amount, obviously we'd use some of the proceeds to hire a contractor to put them in. If there's a small job, my parks foreman has experience laying brick in his previous employment. So
Terrific. That's excellent. Any questions or comments for Mr. Bison? This is a great idea, Greg.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I got to give kudos to Assistant Town Manager Melissa Roy for kind of coming up with the spring child too. So,
kudos. That's right. That it is. If there are no questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion to allow the Exeter Parks and Recreation Department to implement a Buy a Brick program with proceeds for Planet Playground enhancements and renovation.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we'll get the website up and live within the next couple days.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of exciting discussion items this evening. The next one will not disappoint either. We have our Conservation and Sustainability Planner, Kristen Murphy, here to talk about Styrofoam recycling truck rental for another recycling exercise, I believe, later this month.
Yes, April. Yeah.
Soon to be later.
Almost later this
It
month.
will be by the time we get out of here tonight.
Bite your tongue.
I know you have a really long agenda. I do appreciate you making time for me to come tonight. Kristen Murphy, Conservation and Sustainability Planner for the town. The Sustainability Advisory Committee is really committed to holding Styrofoam collection events quarterly, ideally, until which place we get our densifier put out at the transfer station, which I am so excited for, but I'll contain that excitement for the moment. Right now, any funds the Sustainability Advisory Committee, the Energy Committee use come from the sustainability line item from the Planning Department, and there's really not a lot of money there. And so for them to rent a truck quarterly, we would quickly tap out of those funds. So with the new release of the donation policy, this is a little bit of a slight tweak to it, but what I'm hoping to do tonight is seek your authorization to approve donations up to $400. And so what the model that's used in other communities who have been holding these collection events is just offer the opportunity, it's not a requirement, but the opportunity to provide a donation. And they have had fantastic results with that. So my hope is if we do the same thing here, we can continue to hold these events and have minimal impact on that line item. So in my mind, this is sort of a test case scenario. This would cover 2 truck rentals. I have no idea how much styrofoam we might get on the 26th when we hold the next event, but ideally, this will be at least one cover rental for one collection event, possibly 2.
Okay.
So Corey did provide a draft motion here for your consideration if you're interested, but I would love to answer questions.
See if it's as good as the one I wrote. I'm kidding. First of all, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your enthusiasm and the Sustainability Advisory Committee's enthusiasm. And please don't curb that. Let's celebrate the fact that that warrant article passed, and fingers crossed on the grant. This is very exciting. And I love the initiative that you and the committee are taking to try to find a way to raise funds to cover this, because I think the more that you have of these, the more popular they're going to become. This is not a problem that's going away, and I think folks are really excited to be able to do this. So our thanks is to you. Any questions for Kristen?
I have nothing to add. No, I think this is great. It's exciting.
And the grant application window is now open, so I've been working on the application. And Steve Cronin is helping me with some of the metrics that go into that application. Also, the grantor notified us in advance when the announcement was coming, so I feel like we're really teed up for success.
Good.
So, Mr. Stevens, I think we can collaborate here. I just need to get clarification on something that's in Kristen's memo. And this is accepting donations up to $400?
Yes.
So that means one person can donate up to $400, or it's up to $400 for one rental?
Up to $400 for one rental.
Okay.
And the policy requires that there was the second sheet in the policy. So if there are donations $100 or more, I would provide a signed form that we would have Russ sign in advance, and I would fill out on site.
So would you like to incorporate the $400 into the motion so that it's clear?
So you changed number 1 because there are 2 motions there, right?
Mhm.
I move that the select board accept up to $400 in donations.
All cash donations up to $400?
That's fine.
Does that work?
Yep.
Okay.
I had made a provision in the second motion that if we were to collect more than 400, then we would turn the money over to trustees and it would be available for future. But if you want to just collect the 400, then that's fine as well.
Are you planning?
What's your preference, Kristen?
I mean, if you collected more,
Yeah.
it would have to go toward, unfortunately, it would have to go towards the purpose of moving future styrofoam.
Yeah.
But you could.
Yeah, I would want anything that we collect to go toward that.
Okay, so then I'm going to strike what I wrote because that limited it to the 400, and we'll incorporate what you wrote.
Right.
Does that work? And you're
Yes.
good with that?
That would be wise. She's going to collect more than.
Yeah. Because you're looking at doing more than one if possible, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the more you can
Okay.
get in for donations now, the better.
That's not a boast, that's just a fact.
So let's start with, I'd entertain a motion that the Select Board accept all cash donations received for the purpose of defraying transportation costs related to Exeter's Styrofoam recycling event being held on April 26, 2025.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then I would entertain a motion that the Select Board authorize the Conservation and Sustainability Planner to expend donations collected at the April 26th, 2025 Styrofoam recycling event up to the cost to transport the collected Styrofoam. Any further disbursements to be made by vote of the Select Board.
So moved.
Second?
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you, Corey. Okay, Mr. Dean, you have an update on SB 297 for us?
I do. SB 297 is in the process right now. It's in Health Trust's hands, and there have been meetings held with House leadership and also the policy director of the governor's office to review the particulars of the bill and why Health Trust believes it's poor legislation. So that's what the latest status is of the bill.
Can you tell the public what the bill is?
Yeah, the bill, well, the bill does several things. First of all, it takes the model of the risk pool and dissolves it and makes it into a narrow band of required reserves along with a strict assessment and one-year replenishment requirements. So that's one thing that it does. Another thing that it does is if events occur that such losses are significantly worse than expected, only fully insured coverage would protect groups. In those years, it is unlikely that political subdivisions and their taxpayers will be able to bear the burden of steep rate increases and required replenishments and assessments without extraordinary sacrifices. And then, will the SB 297 model allow for prudent management? And the answer to that is no. The model creates conflicting rights and responsibilities for participating groups that cannot be reconciled. In the SB 297 model, each group as an owner is ultimately responsible for risk of losses and is owed an individual fiduciary duty by the organization. As such, conflicts will arise from the competing interest of individual groups. For example, if the board did not retire a costly and ineffective benefit, it could face allegations of not fulfilling its fiduciary duty to provide cost-effective coverage to one subset of groups. However, if it retired the benefit, it could face allegations of interfering in the collective bargaining agreements of another subset of groups. Political subdivisions cannot operate independently when making decisions, while at the same time operating collectively when sharing the cost of those decisions. These concerns are not hypothetical. Health Trust faces misguided claims from our regulator with respect to these very concerns today. If SB 297 passes, these claims will be even more difficult to defend. So there's a lot of issues with the bill. We talked at the last meeting about the reserves levels and the concerns about that, and the assessments system that would be set up for cities and towns to have to fund.
Yeah, right.
So there are just a myriad of issues.
So Selectwoman Gilman, I know you weren't here on the 17th. This was an agenda item, and Mr. Dean went through.
Sorry.
No. But I'm glad you asked that because we spoke about the absolute absurdity that the health trust and other type trusts in the state of New Hampshire are regulated by the Secretary of State when they really should be regulated by the Division of Insurance.
Right.
So we asked Mr. Dean to prepare a letter opposing this on behalf of the Select Board, which we find in our packet. And I'd ask the board if there's any revisions or amendments, or we're good with it the way it is.
I'm good with the letter. I just think at some point, maybe a scenario that shows our residents what the costs could be. Not just, this is stuff that we might understand, but, bottom line, just a scenario, because there's no way of knowing. It's just something in the future I'd
Okay.
like to, I think we might want to use to help educate people on why we're so concerned about this.
Absolutely.
No, and we can get into more detail. What were you threw around some numbers on the 17th. I think they were rough numbers of what potentially some of the impact to the budget would be. You recall that?
I think it was $100,000 that we calculated, around 130.
Because I remember you worked it
130.
up too.
Yeah.
That was 4.
So,
Can I ask a quick background question? How long has Health Trust been in existence?
that's a good question. I'm not sure.
I mean, we're not talking about 5 years.
No, certainly not.
1985?
Yeah.
So,
in the 80s.
so this is something that's been going for 40 years?
Yes.
And these folks in our legislature are trying to fix something that's been going on for 40 years
Gotta
that
fix them, that's not.
doesn't need to be fixed.
The state has no money, no money. They are cutting $30 million from the university system. We are not going to be able to fund anything. It is crushing and devastating.
What does that have to do with Health Trust?
There is a downshifting of any and all cost to the local communities because the state has no money.
But
They
does
have
the state have any financial stake in Health Trust?
Well, it's being regulated by the Secretary of State, where it should be the Division of Insurance. So
I understand, but why are they trying to fix something that ain't broke?
It's a long-standing issue between the Secretary of State's office and Health Trust.
It would be so funny if this brings that guy down and not voter suppression for the past 50 years. But not that I have a bone to pick with anyone.
40-year, roughly, 40-year history of
success.
Yeah.
And let's bring it down. Oh, my God.
And there was some
Incredible.
manipulation of information during the testimony for it, too.
That was crazy.
sure.
Okay.
It's so bad.
So,
Do you have anything to add, or?
not at this point.
Okay.
I don't think so.
We'll keep talking about this in our meetings, and we'll keep it on the agenda as it's, needed for
As
you
it
to-
winds its way
Yep.
through the process.
Yep,
Yeah, we have a
yep,
few
this is
of
important.
those, too.
Yeah.
This is very important.
There was a really good article in the Union Leader about it.
Yes, I saw that.
So did I. Sent it around to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I don't have a subscription. Is there a way you can?
There will be a response to that article
Okay.
as well.
I would like to be able to read it. I
Yes.
couldn't.
Thank you. And the last discussion item, again, Selectwoman Gilman, we went through the boards and committees that the Select Board represents, and we kept everything status quo. You and I had a conversation prior to that, and we weren't comfortable moving forward until you were here to give and we had two corrections to that were made.
Yeah.
But one wasn't?
Yeah.
Which one did I miss?
The Recreation Advisory Board, Molly Cowan is my second, is the alternate on that.
What about the tax exemptions and abatements committee?
I am struggling to be able to make it.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask about. I think I can usually make it.
Okay.
So maybe you can be the alternate.
I would be happy to be your backup.
Okay.
So, Mr. Dean, in the Rec Advisory Board, if we could fill in Molly as the alternate,
We'll do that.
and then we'll flip-flop the tax exemption.
Okay.
We'll bring this back one more time.
And just as I say that, I know my schedule will change.
All right, everyone good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you would, let's run through
Okay.
these.
Hmm?
Let's run through these.
Okay, some of them I'm going to be able to combine. Everyone's okay with that?
Of course, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So the elderly exemption, I'm going to do a few of them. Okay, map 19, lot 16, unit 26, in the amount of $152,251. Map 32, lot 12, unit 3, in the amount of $152,251. And then map 64, lot 105, unit 80.
No, the one down.
Did I?
It's the next one down.
Oh,
I think.
64. Nope, you're right. I'm sorry. I was doing the wrong number. Thank you. Got it, Joanne? I sent the wrong one. Map 87, lot 14, unit 17A, in the amount of $152,251. And then map 99, lot 24, in the amount of $152,251 for the tax year 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Thank you for catching that. I have a little mark next to it. The next one is map 64, lot 105, unit 88, in the amount of $236,251 for the tax year 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
And then I have, do I say why it was denied? There's a little notation, I don't have to, right? Okay, so map 104, lot 79, unit 132B, denied.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Map 73, lot 49, unit 43, denied.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Map 104, lot 79, unit 321, denied.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Map 104, lot 79, unit 109, denied.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Okay, and then we don't have any disability exemptions this evening. We have veteran credits next. Yes. I'll start with the denied. Map 64, lot 158, denied.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I'm going to combine a few here. So map 31, lot 8. Map 104, lot 79, unit 323. Map 75, lot 17, unit 24. Map 65, lot 149, all in the amount of $500 each for the tax year 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And then I'm going to combine two. Map 31, lot 8, and map 65, lot 149, each in the amount of $2,000 for the tax year 2025.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The religious exemption.
Can I ask a question before we do this?
Yes.
So I had flagged this last time. It sounds like we followed up with them and they are using this condo for a parsonage for a church in Greenland, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's all kosher under the law.
RSA.
Currently.
Thank you for.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Thank you for getting that information.
Yes, thank you, because
We
that
had
is a
two
huge
bills
amount.
about that very thing.
Okay.
Okay, so religious exemption, map 69, lot 3, unit 13, in the amount of $585,200 for the tax year 2025.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Nay.
It's 4-1.
And solar exemptions. Map 62, Lot 100, in the amount of $12,000 for the tax year 2025.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Bless you.
Take me a few times, bless you.
No, great job. Thank you. Corey, are you presenting any permits and approvals this evening? No. No? Okay. Mr. Dean, can we skip over you? And let's get Mr. Bisson and Mr. Cronin so that we can be respectful of their time, since you're stuck with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In your packet, you'll see a memo. We did update it after working with Steve on the new motion. But we had 2 donations come in for our Planet Playground fundraising. Digital Prospectors of 100 Domain Drive in Exeter. Their digital prospector is a leading technology, engineering, and life science staffing firm working with private and public sectors based out of Exeter, New Hampshire. Has donated $1,500.
Okay.
And
we'll do them both. So you want to introduce the other one?
Yeah, and the Mott's family has also donated $500 towards Planet Playground. And we had, like I said, we emailed Pam a new version of it, and if you want, Mr. Chair, I have them.
We have it. Thank you, though. Any questions for Mr. Bisson?
No, if I may just say.
Please.
That, just thank you to Parks and Rec Department for actively pursuing donations, and the Recreation Advisory Board. They're really working hard on donations and ways to raise this fund.
This total will bring us up to 39,000 raised.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Terrific. Good job.
Thank you.
And we'd like to also thank Digital Prospectors and the Mott's family, of course, for generous donations. So with that, I would entertain a motion, excuse me, that the Select Board accept the $500 donation received from the Mott's family for Planet Playground renovations and enhancements, and to direct the funds be held by the trustees of the trust fund in a new trust account called the Planet Playground Renovation Fund. Disbursements to be made by further vote of the Select Board related to the purpose of renovating and enhancing Planet Playground.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I would entertain a motion that the Select Board accept the $1,500 donation from Digital Prospectors for Planet Playground renovations and enhancements, and to direct the funds be held by the trustees of the trust fund in a new trust account called the Planet Playground Renovation Fund. Disbursements to be made by further vote of the Select Board related to the purpose of renovating and enhancing Planet Playground.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Come on up, Steve.
Generous community.
Thank you for your patience tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next 2 items on your agenda go hand in hand. First is a recommendation to extend a contract with Bell and Flynn for 1 additional year for paving services for the 2025 construction season. And second is the request to authorize the use of $75,000 in road aid funds to supplement the Highway Department's 2025 road paving budget. As I'm sure you're aware, Bell and Flynn has been our paving contractor for the last several years. In discussions with them, they are able to offer us an extension of the current contract at the same price that they've provided for several years now. We've looked at that price against many of the infrastructure projects that we've bid internally, as well as with New Hampshire DOT, and also compare that against several other surrounding cities and towns, and they continue to be able to beat those prices. We can say with the utmost certainty that we are getting good value for our money and recommend extending that.
Agreed.
Yeah. And they've done this for so many years, they've been able to keep the same number.
Yep.
I was trying to remember how many years, and it's not even, doesn't matter other than I want to thank them for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Cronin on either the road paving, road aid, or the Bell and Flynn? And I believe they came and helped us out on the Parkway, right?
Yes, they did.
With
They
very
helped
short
out.
notice.
Yep, correct.
So, before we get into the motion, is this pronounced the concrete is?
Bituminous.
Bituminous, that's okay. I would entertain a motion to extend the contract with Bell and Flynn LLC for paving services for one additional year at the following unit prices. Item number 1, bituminous concrete pavement machine method, $71.90 per ton for binder course, $72.90 per ton for surface course, $73.90 per ton for urban compact surface course, $74.90 per ton for cul-de-sac street and leveling course. Item number 2, bituminous concrete pavement hand method, $140 per ton. Item number 3, bituminous concrete curb and barren, $4.50 per linear foot. And to further authorize the town manager or their designee to sign the associated contract documents.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I would entertain a motion to authorize the use of $75,000 in road aid funds to supplement the Highway Department's 2025 road paving maintenance budget.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is a request for you to accept a grant from New Hampshire DES for hazardous household waste collection in the amount of $8,132. As you know, each year with our partners, the Rockingham Planning Commission, the town of Exeter hosts a household waste collection event for Exeter and 6 other surrounding communities. This grant will go to assisting us with the cost of planning administration for the event.
Great. Any questions?
Just to say, Rockingham Planning Commission is an invaluable service to us, and I do hope everyone understands that. Because I think I saw a bill about that, which I won't get into, but, so I just want to thank them for all the things that they do.
And thank you. There are no other questions. I'd entertain a motion to accept a grant from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for hazardous household waste collection in the amount of $8,132 and to further authorize the town manager or their designee to sign the associated grant agreement documents.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
very
Cronin.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience with us. All right, Mr. Dean, back to you.
So you have in front of you is the MS 232. That's the report of appropriations actually voted by the town at the annual election this year. So it's just a form document that DRA needs and is put together by the finance office.
Okay.
So needs board approval.
Great. Thank you, Corey. Good night.
Thanks.
Any questions of Mr. Dean on the MS 232 report? And I would entertain a motion to approve the New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration MS 232 2025 report and to further certify the corresponding form be signed by the Select Board.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Dean.
Okay, HR Director, we're making progress. We got a quote on constructing the office downstairs, and that is progressing. So that's a good report. Senior Coordinator job is posted. It is out there for advertisement, and we already have candidates, which is also good news. The Pickpocket Dam grant for $300,000, we're waiting. April 8th is the date that we should know whether we get that grant officially. Another reminder that the E911 meeting for the meeting place is April 14th, so that will be on your next agenda. I had a sewer rates meeting on March 25th with the executive team and Mr. Kelly, and those notes will be forwarded to the board for review. Has to do with the fund balance of the fund and some other projects that we're looking at doing from the sewer fund. We held our leadership meeting on March 25th. Good discussion at that meeting. And just some personnel notes. Amy Brandon, our new part-time water sewer clerk, started on March 10th. Steve Petrosky in the police department just celebrated 40 years, and that was out there on social media for people to see and and enjoy. And so thank you to Steve, and congratulations on his longevity. Derek Weiskill was promoted to senior wastewater operator, and Mike Cheever was promoted to water treatment plant supervisor. So 2 significant moves in that department. CSX, again, the upgrades are taking place. We got the notice out on social media and on the town website, April 5th through April 8th. It will include 2 road closures, Powder Mill Road, and the other one is escaping me. I'll see if it comes back to me, but that is in the offing, and we do have information on the website and social media on that. The Webster Avenue force main work is scheduled to begin April 7th, and our septic receiving facility startup is scheduled for tomorrow, April 1st, so it's coming online. And then there's a bid opening for the Linden Street Bridge project, April 28th, and the West Side Drive project bid opening will be May 27th. And there's also a School Street abutters meeting on April 3rd. And that was my report for tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Dean? I have a comment. Regarding the E911 agenda item that we're going to hear on April 14th, the board will recall that we had folks from that area here sometime in the early fall, and we agreed to pause hearing this case until the respective elections went through, the presidential election and the town election, and we told them that we would take this back up in the spring. I also gave my word that we would notify them in advance when this meeting would be held. And according to that, about a month ago, I asked Mr. Dean and the fire department to reach out to these folks via certified mail. I want to commend both the fire department and Mr. Dean and his office for trying to get notice out via certified mail as soon as possible. The property management, as I understand it, citing confidentiality, would not release names and addresses for us to issue notices via certified mail. I then asked Mr. Dean to email the individual that was here that night, sort of taking the lead on behalf of her neighbors, because we had her email address. Mr. Dean sent that email out probably 3 weeks ago. The fire chief and I received an email from her Friday night. I responded to her indicating that Mr. Dean had notified her several weeks via email. I forwarded a copy of that email and further said that the board had intended to keep our word, but that the property management team would not release names and addresses. So they are aware of the meeting April 14th. We hope to see them April 14th. We look forward to that. But I just wanted the board to be aware that we kept our word. We tried to keep our word and do it in a more formal manner. We were not able to do so, but Mr. Dean did send out that email several weeks ago. So I want that, the board to know that, and I want that on the record this evening. So thank you, Mr. Dean.
Thank you.
The other, so April 6th through April 9th for the construction? It's
Yes.
crossing on Powder Mill to Salem and Salem Street. So Powder Mill Road at Kingston Road and Kimball Road, and then Salem Street. From Summer Street to Wadley Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I texted to my kids, so I had it handy.
Thank you. Select Board Committee reports. Selectwoman Gilman.
Let's see, I had a meeting with the Energy Committee. We discussed what's next for our projects. We decided to do the window fitters again. Because it was so successful, although we want to have somebody else organize it, we decided that we will show somebody else how to organize it, or just do it ourselves as the organizing body, but get people to do the organizing volunteers set up. And then the Heritage Commission met, and we talked about several different things, but one was to do a show of the Pine Street, Elliott Street area survey that we had done in public venue and notifying all the residents by door hangers or something like that. So that's in our future. And then we'll probably broadcast the other ones that we haven't done that with. And then we finished all the bills in Concord, and it's time for crossover. And there were several that were tabled, which means they can come back into the budget, the policy half of the budget. And just on that topic, the state library did a very successful blast of emails coordinated because it had been the governor's proposal to take it out of the budget altogether, not fund it. And instead, it's being funded at some level. But at the same time, there was a bill that passed to the Senate. No, a Senate bill that's going to come back to the House, maybe, but is creating an Office of Film and Creative Media. So cutting arts and culture, but making a new office. So these two bodies are not talking to each other. There is a real, there's the education freedom account money comes from out of our education fund. There's a bill to let local governments fund education freedom accounts instead of the statewide education something tax. It's what, property tax. So we could choose to lose money or use money differently. Another thing is that they've proposed tax on Medicaid, of all things. They put a dollar value on the amount that a family makes that's received Medicaid and putting a couple $100s on each check that you get. So it's basically an income tax. You're getting money, but you're paying into that money yourself. And they're just, I can't use the word to describe them, but that was the worst that I've seen. The Office of Consumer Advocate and that works for us all on checking the actions of the public. You're looking at me, made me forget what I was going to say. Utilities, there it is. Keeps an eye on what utilities are doing, and then there's the Office of Child Advocate, which is very important in protecting children and making sure that they're taken care of and have somebody to support them in times of need, not just food, et cetera, but to make sure that if they have a cause of some kind of problem, then they have an advocate to help them out. So there's some of the highlights, and really just a few of them. We'll see what else. A lot of the bills this week were tabled, like I said, and they would go surprise, come into HB2, which is the trailer bill for the budget. And then there were some that were indefinitely postponed in a surprising way, which means they can't come back until 2027. So that's my thing.
Thank you. And I didn't mean to distract you. I was just giving you my attention. Selectwoman Belanger.
Okay. So I had a meeting Tuesday night, March 25th, with the Arts and Culture Advisory Commission. They're going to reach out to Corey Stevens about the new donation process. Dave Tovey from our Assistant Director of Parks and Rec was there. There was some comments made at a previous meeting that there was some concern that we weren't going after grants for the town hall assessment project, and Dave explained to them that we're not really missing opportunities because we're not quite there yet. So they understood that, which is good. Excuse me. There's some continued discussion on the possibility of a new electronic sign to replace the board sign to the left outside the town hall. The person who was assigned that has resigned from the committee, so Bruce Jones is taking that on.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Mr. Tovey also talked about Possible future events between Parks and Rec and Arts and Culture. One of them was a potential fashion show with some of our local businesses, and the board expressed interest in that. It's a beginning talking stages. And then for anyone following those meetings, just keep an eye on the next two dates, the April 28th and the May 27th. They're looking at possibly moving them because of a quorum issue with school vacation and then Memorial Day weekend.
Can I just
Sure.
have one thing on the topic of the fashion show? I had a business approach me about doing a kind of sidewalk sale at the end of each season when they need to change over their merchandise.
Yeah.
And doing something in the town hall that's sort of like the farmer's market, only with downtown stores.
Tell them to reach out to Parks and Rec and they'll go through the logistics of it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, just so everybody's aware, so then I had, sorry.
Yeah, I know.
I had 4 meetings last week, and so the Rec Advisory Board was Wednesday night. Planet Playground event is coming up, so keep it in your calendar. That event is to thank the previous community members who worked in the playground and to thank officials who will be invited for helping with the funding for the new Planet Playground. It's going to be on Saturday, April 12th, with a rain date of April 19th. The Easter egg hunt starts at 10, and this event is right after that from 11 to 12:30. There'll be cupcakes and other goodies, so I hope people can come. It'll be exciting. You're expected to speak, Mr. Chair, so just a heads up.
Oh, thank you.
And then the 10 Hampton Road update is coming along. There's some additional renovations, modifications on the second floor. It's going to open it up a little bit. Summer camp, fully booked, 300 participants. We do have some openings for some counselors, so anyone interested, go to the Parks and Rec website. It's a lot of programs, so I'm not going to go through my whole list. So I'm just going to ask people to please go to the Parks and Rec's website for all of the camps and other opportunities, because we have a lot. So, and deadlines are coming up if they haven't already been there, so just take a look. There's a few items on the park improvement update, and one's for the skate park, which I was very happy to hear. That's off of Court Street, and Gilman Park, which is off of Bell Ave. Mr. Tovey, who was looking into transportation options because of, we have no taxis now. He was looking, and he's assigned to the Coast Bus Committee, but it's just not a viable option. He'll keep looking, but it's like $31,000 a year for 2 trips a week. Yeah, so he felt that was cost prohibitive to be bringing it to the board. And then the Parks and Recreation Department and the advisory board particularly wanted to thank the voters for supporting the initiatives of the Park and Rec Department. And then there was some fundraising ideas. This is where you come in. A bear garden for our July 4th celebration, which is on July 12th this year. It was discussed, there was some concerns about offering beer at a family event, but it's preliminary discussion. Greg is going to reach out to Joe Pace, congratulations, Joe Pace, the new director of our American Independence Museum, to talk to him and see if they can coordinate something, just to check it out. But their idea is to see if this is a trial run for the 250th celebration. And then I was asked a question, and it was, is there a senior high school student on the 250th committee? And the answer is, we don't, but we do have 3 vacancies, and is that something that's possible?
Yeah, we do it on
Because
the
they're minor,
Energy
we can.
Committee.
I know we did it for the Energy Committee. Do we have to designate? But we could just.
The Energy Committee.
I don't have any connections at the high school. I wouldn't even
No,
begin
actually,
to know.
Thank you for reminding me, the 250th committee, the last meeting was canceled because we didn't have a quorum, but We had talked about in the previous meeting needing a logo for the celebration, and that perhaps we'd reach out to the school for a competition, or at least a competition.
Okay, so could we consider asking them to also, if there's one high school student that would be interested?
Sure. Yeah.
In serving?
Did that on Sustainability Committee
Yes,
for a while,
I
too,
remembered we did that, but I didn't have the list with me. And then finally, I had planning board on Thursday night. The 76 Portsmouth Ave Haven Lane project was approved. There is going to be a $20,000 extraction in lieu of a traffic study, which is something that we had done before with Riverwoods years ago. So that's happening. We went till midnight, and we had to continue the other two applicants because it just kept going. So those two applicants, and that would be the 112 Front Street and the beginning conversation of 57 Portsmouth Ave, are both moved to the April 10th meeting, and there's a public site walk for anyone wanting to attend. The 57 Portsmouth Ave project, that's going to be on April 10th, the morning of our meeting at 8 a.m.
Thank you.
I'm done.
I thought you said you had 4.
No, I did.
Oh.
Didn't I give you all 4? Arts, rec, planning board. Oh, I don't have to do one for the select board.
Just testing you.
That's okay, I'd rather be tested.
Before Mr. Bisson talks with Mr. Pace, could he dot his i's and cross his t's with you and Melissa?
Yes, absolutely.
On the beer garden? Thanks.
We'll make sure that happens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nada.
Nada. And Chartrand.
I'll be quick. Facilities Advisory Committee met on the 26th of March, which was a Wednesday at 5:30. We heard our usual reports from Dave Sharples about the construction projects for public safety and the new home for Parks and Rec. But we spent the bulk of the time planning for our next meeting, which is on the 23rd of April, also a Wednesday, from 5 to 7. And we're going to be doing a specific exercise during that meeting, a space needs assessment, put some boundaries around it, and some conversation about what we are hoping to get out of that. Selectwoman Gilman, if you could be there, I know you might not be able to, but if you could be there, I would find it helpful. 23rd of April, 5 o'clock. One of the things that they're going to talk about is the town hall, and you were very involved in that, so. I said that I was going to try to recruit you to be there. Because I think it would help our discussions to have you.
The 23rd of April?
23rd of April, a Wednesday at 5 to 7.
I'm clear so far.
That's a good sign.
You aren't now, you just plugged
Thank
it in.
you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, no problem.
But I would personally love to have you there.
Yep.
And then on Wednesday of this week, we'll be meeting, the Sustainability Committee will be meeting under our new chair, Denise Short. So looking forward to that. That's
Terrific. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see, I had the, Swayze Park trustee meeting on the 19th, and the bulk of the meeting was Kristen Murphy, went over the Swayze Parkway Coastal Resilience Project, and I believe Dwayne Staples, the chair of the trustees, will be joining me on that internal committee that we have, so that's exciting. Pearpoint Park Committee met the following day. They have, they're making progress, and they will be meeting twice in April to kind of whittle this down to 3 different options, and the goal is to come before the select board at one of our meetings in June. So I'll leave it at that. And speaking of Swayze Parkway, I want to thank Dwayne Staples. Among the many things he does for us around town, he's been taking care of that tree that's in front of the town hall for years, unbeknownst to anybody. And there was some damage to several of the branches, but working with Jeff Beck, he came out, bless you, he came out last week and using his expertise, did everything he could do to try to salvage it. And he said it will take about 4 years. But I just wanted to give him credit for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Correspondence, we have a news release from Public Works regarding the flushing of the water mains that Mr. Dean spoke of. And then, Mr. Dean, you and I both received correspondence from Kearsarge Energy. You able to speak to that briefly?
Yeah, that is an offer that Kearsarge Energy is not the only company that does this. There are others that will come into your town and do an energy audit and then find ways that you can actually get payments under the state's group net metering program with no upfront costs. We actually do participate in one now. I don't have the numbers in front of me tonight, but I can get them for you as far as revenues that we are generating right now from town electricity.
Okay. And we have a notice from DOT requesting that the state-owned bridge be closed.
Be closed until further notice.
Okay. We have the annual report from the Exeter Sportsman's Club and the NHMA legislative update.
Mr. Chair, if I can make a plug
Please.
for that, I would really love it if people would look at this last part of today's packet. It goes through all the bills that are endangering our local control, that affect our zoning, mandated things that help and hurt. But I'd like to hear some opinions from people about what they see coming and what they have questions about.
Okay, thank you. Okay, review the board calendar.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
We did this last week. We'll go through July, April 4th. These are
Just kidding. Just kidding.
These are select board meetings.
April.
April 14th, I meant.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, what?
I was going to say we're meeting on a Friday. Since when?
Mix things up a little bit.
Okay.
April 14th, April 28th, May 12th.
This is the one that I don't think that I'll be able to make.
Okay, I note that. May 27, which is a Tuesday.
And also I won't be able to make it.
Okay. June 9th, June 23rd, July 7th, July 21st, and then also a reminder that April 21st at 7 o'clock will be our goal-setting session at the Senior Center. And I believe, Mr. Dean, you confirmed that Mr. Keegan's going to facilitate that for us?
Yes, he will.
Okay.
That was April 21st.
Yes.
I remember agreeing to it.
You picked the date
I
and times.
picked the date and time, and I am available. All right.
So as we get closer to, and obviously, we'd have to get consensus from the board, where you're not available for any of the meetings in May. If we've got some pressing business that we need you, I'll maybe work with you. We could reschedule one of them or.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first meeting in May, I am not available.
Yep.
And the second meeting in May, which is the 27th,
Right.
I likely, if I needed to be available and call in, that would probably be fine.
All right, I'll talk with you offline.
Okay.
We can figure that out. Any other business before the board? And seeing none, I would entertain a motion to go into a non-public session under RSA 91A 32B.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please.
Selectman Chartran.
Aye.
Selectman Cowan.
Aye.
Chair, Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Selectman Gilman.
Aye.
And I say aye.
Vote passes 5-0. The board will be moving into non-public. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.